Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth Debate with me, Nathan Oakley. If you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you're new to me, be sure to hit the link in the info box and subscribe to my main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, to keep up to date with all things Flat Earth, including interviews and vlogs. The purpose of this stream is to invite anybody who wants to talk about Flat Earth. You are free to express your views, and my primary purpose will simply be to moderate. On the whole, I will try and keep out of the debates and only tell people the two rules, which are as follows. Number one, no swearing. Not because I'm particularly against swearing, but because it tends to be the case that people who are swearing are triggered/angry or emotional. So no swearing. If you are requested to stop swearing, I'll probably ask you twice and then just simply boot you, as I've already made that mistake once on the last stream. So the second rule is if you are ejected from the stream, you will be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. So all I would ask is that you do not return using a different account to the same stream. Simply leave and wait until we fire up another one, either immediately after this one, or if it's another 12 hours, 24 hours, wait until then. So that's going to be pretty much it from me for the introduction. We do actually already have a guest with us, so I'm going to say a quick hello to Nummy Num. How you doing, Nummy Num?
Great, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad at all. So you were asking a few questions about how the Hangout would run and such, so I assume from that you've not seen any of the other ones that I've run so far.
Well, I think I saw a couple of months ago, but I just didn't know if this particular Hangout was more of a debate format, or I was just wondering what you had in mind. I can't hear you now.
Sorry, my mute button is a bit rubbish. It's overused. It doesn't always work. The main purpose was to have a platform that people could come on and not be ridiculed. And as the host, if I don't necessarily have any firm opinions, and in saying that I reserve the right to still have them if I choose to, it means that people can come on and have an open platform to debate without necessarily worrying that if they don't meet my approval, or if I disagree with their opinion, then I'm going to kick them. You know, that's not going to be the case. I just think I'll make a good host, and I'm hoping that off the back of that, we'll get people moving the arguments forward by chatting to each other in a reasonably cordial manner. Yes, it will get heated, inevitably, and has done to a certain degree already, but I think having a nice, fairly calm platform where people can specifically talk about whether or not they believe in the globe, or flat earth, or concave earth, or whatever it is you believe in, is nothing but beneficial. And sorry to monologue, although I was quite worried at first because I assumed that I would get absolutely loads of grief from fellow flat earthers about having ballers with their contrary opinions on, but on the contrary, it seems I've had nothing but praise, which I'm elated about. So people seem to like this idea and have joined in, which I'm very pleased about.
Great. Yeah, I like the idea of a moderated debate, because these debates often get out of control pretty quickly, with people just spouting ridicule and psychoanalysis and character assassination type of approaches to the subject, which are not useful to anyone.
Yeah, but, precisely. That's
just
exactly
so everybody understands, I'm a flat earther. That's my side of the debate as well. So, and I very much welcome debate, as long as it's on topic and not some kind of character analysis or psychoanalysis or something, which seems to be what a lot of globe earthers would rather debate than the actual subject a lot of the time.
Yeah, there's loads of ad hominem attacks, and a lot of it is about people and their personalities. And in the great scheme of things, you said you're a flat earth, so I'm happy to talk along these lines while there's no one else here to contest us. But, you know, it's, to me, a massive paradigm shift, a massive revelation, and to talk about some of the Joe just seems pathetic, but that's my humble opinion.
Sorry, to talk about what?
Some humble Joe, just some guy or some girl that's got a contrary opinion, you know, and then talk about them specifically or find out about what they've done in their past. It's like, who cares? It's just some other person, just some other Joe. Who cares?
Right. Yeah, are people just wanting to assume assert what your motives are for being a flat earther seems to be a common one as well. Like, you just want to be special. You want to know something that other people don't. You're crazy, you're delusional, blah, blah, blah. A million different things like that, right?
Yeah, you're in it for the money, just here for the ad revenue.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing it for attention or something like that, right? But, I think most serious flat earthers, I didn't want to be a flat earther, to be honest with you. I didn't want the earth to be flat. I really didn't. I didn't like that idea one bit. I was like, I'm just trying to be intellectually honest, but when I first discovered that the earth was flat, when it first really crystallized in my mind, I was like, oh no, now I'm one of these flat earth kooks. Damn. what a cross to bear. But, I think, I don't know. I would rather be honest with all things in life, and share the truth with people. And I do think that, I hope that it seems it's going to be a long road, but I think that this is going to work. People will eventually realize the truth.
Yeah, it's a denial thing. I don't feel like I'd be honest with myself if I was to just deny. So I can't. That's the bottom line here. Regardless of how much scorn is poured upon me by globe earthers and their documented evidence or proof or cinematography or whatever it is they're presenting to you on that day, there's just never going to reach a point where I'm going to look at that stuff in the same light. I can't look at it in the same light anymore. You can't unscrambled eggs. You can't unscramble scrambled eggs, unfortunately, and that's the situation I'm in. I may not know what my reality is. I've got far less idea what my reality is now than I ever had before, which isn't the situation I want to be in. I was quite happy. I liked watching science at NASA and going, wow, this is cool, this is exciting. And I've said this without bringing it to people or too much, after the recent nonsense that was on about various different people whose names I won't even mention. In the aftermath, people were saying, well, it's really boring. When they were explaining the actual situation, I've kind of got to get a bit of vague details. It was about an app that was created. But when it was explained how that was done, people were like, this is really tedious. And it's like, yeah, the truth often is very tedious. Yeah. And the obvious and observable nature of our reality is quite boring when you think about it. Flat, stationary, that's not exactly riveting. Flying through space at 500,000 miles an hour, whirling and spinning and vastnesses that they talk about in the heliocentric model, it's really romantic. It's really exciting, Right. And unfortunately, that's often the case with a lie. They often are really exciting. The truth, not so much.
Well, I don't know if it's boring. I think that it's more mysterious. But those are just subjective interpretations of it as it's not an entertainment topic. This is a scientific question, and it has a scientific answer, and it's more a matter of intellectual honesty, and also it forces you to confront the unbelievable disinformation campaign that has been perpetrated on mankind for hundreds of years, and I think that that's the leap that, a lot of people, who otherwise intellectually honest people, they just can't comprehend it. They just can't, they wouldn't do that themselves. It's the big lie philosophy, right? They wouldn't engage, they would never lie so infamously, and they really just truly can't comprehend that others would. Or for what purpose? The purpose, there's no singular purpose to it. I think that ultimately the simplest way of explaining the purpose is that it's to detach people from their own senses, in the sense that, you just learn that you can't trust your senses on the most basic level, right? So that you have to go to you have to be, your perceptions need mediation through authorities and institutions to have any validity. And then people just get used to that on this most fundamental level of the very ground that they're standing on. and it becomes much easier for them to continue to engage with reality in that way, and all the other topics about which we've been disinformed.
Talking
like pretty
of
much
one of
everything.
those topics, just to hopefully trigger a few globeheads into joining, it's often explained that you wouldn't feel the Earth's spin because there's no acceleration or deceleration. And then on one of the previous shows, I think it was Lewis Hackett, said it's akin to a merry-go-round. And I would say, let's tell my child off. Come away from there, please. No, come away from there. She's talking to the screen. Sorry. Kids are funny. Anyway, it was explained that it was like a merry-go-round. And I would say it's definitely not like a merry-go-round. It's more like a waltzer. Would you not agree?
Well, I would say that if you actually study the physics of a merry-go-round, that rotational motion requires constant acceleration, because changing directions is an acceleration. Like a non-accelerating vector trajectory requires straight line motion. As soon as you're deviating from a straight line, you're accelerating. Technically speaking, actually, classical Newtonian physics does not support this idea that there's no acceleration. If you're rotating, you are accelerating. So by their own model, we're accelerating at all times, unless you are standing directly on one of the poles.
Yeah, and by definition, that would mean that we would feel that inertia.
Yeah, or the non-inertial motion, right? The acceleration. Inertia
Correct.
being continuous motion in a continuous direction without deviation, according to the classical physics. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think that's one of the great approaches to take with people, is that there's a lot of just, misconceptions about basic physics, because I think people tend to think, they kind of understand it. They figure, yeah, I understand that, right? But they haven't really, I mean, some people have if they've studied it in school, and some people may have studied it in school and forgotten it. But but when you actually really dig into this stuff, this idea that there's an inertial motion to rotation is not true. It's incorrect by any model, by their model or any other. Like in order to change direction, you have to accelerate. So yes, we would feel it. And it also, there's all kinds of implications that with regards to weather, wind, things like that, air pressure. I mean, I think it's actually incredibly easy to provide very strong evidence that the Earth isn't rotating. And it's pretty easy to provide strong evidence that it's flat too, but they're not. The fact that this lack of consequence to this rotational motion is I don't know how people can shrug that off. It's really incredible. And there's a lot of arguments that can be made about particularly this subject of inertia, not inertial motion and non-inertial motion, that very strongly support the idea of a stationary Earth, at the very least, if not a flat and stationary Earth. And there's an interesting contingent of people who actually believe in a stationary globe Earth. I don't know any personally, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah, when I first came to Flat Earth, that's what it seemed like. All the intellectuals ended up going down the route of geocentrism. It seemed like the intellectual route, or all the more intellectual people were geocentrists. Not to say that non-intellectuals aren't heliocentric. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing though. It's amazing how, I don't know, I've been a flat earther for only about 10 months, and it just gives you this whole other window into how people view everything, really. just be, if the topic is broached with people, you can learn so much about people by their reactions to just merely bringing up the subject. How curious they are, how attached they are to their idea of a globe Earth. But like I say, I was fully brainwashed myself. I don't judge people, but to my credit, I guess when I was presented with the evidence, I was like, okay, that's an argument. These questions need answering. I didn't retreat into some sort of well, it must, the scientists must know something that I don't, or something like that. I didn't have that kind of lack of confidence in my own ability to solve the problem. But I knew it's funny because I knew for a long time before this that NASA was completely fake. But even before my mind couldn't open that wide, I guess, right away. I guess there's stages of the dilation of the mind's eye, right? Like you can only change so much in some given period of time. And flat Earth is it opens you up all the way, or maybe not all the way, but I certainly opened my mind more than I ever thought I possibly could, and before I had to, in terms of changing fundamental beliefs, fundamental understandings of how I saw this world. But what's really interesting about it is just the implications of flat Earth. Just the deception and the history and the disinformation campaigns of the space programs. And another interesting topic that I think I haven't seen looked at enough is geology. Like, what does this mean for geology? Like what, I was looking up the geological model of the Earth, and the standard scientific claim, or what geologists believe, is that the Earth is 99.5% magma. So, molten rock over 12 or 1500 degrees Celsius. And the crust of the Earth represents only 0.5% of this mass. And I'm like, why doesn't that part heat? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? You've got this hot core, and then just this, it's like having a 6-foot high red hot iron ball with a piece of tin foil on it that never absorbs the heat from the iron ball. It really doesn't make any sense. And, that's a whole other conspiracy, really. I guess it's just a compartment or a subordinate conspiracy. But, everything needs to be reviewed. Everything needs to be reassessed. And so, yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of work to be done for people who are able.
Yeah, I don't think we know very much about what's down, and I don't think we know very much about what's up. Based on the fact that we're being lied to about what's up, in my opinion, and from what's, it's hard to say this because obviously I've not gone and verified the big massive hole in Russia that they dug down. Is what was it, about 12? No, was it 12 kilometers? 12 and a bit kilometers. And apparently, so they say, it got intensely hot and intensely hard to the point where they weren't making, virtually no progress, just chewing their way through bits and getting nowhere. So they eventually abandoned it. So you think, well, we've got a very little idea what's down, which is phenomenal, really, because I've seen it, you've seen it, the cut-out picture of the globe Earth and all the cores going down, right, the way, as you say, and from what you're saying about the geodetic opinion, it's more lava than they say in the heliocentric model. Is that correct?
Yeah, they say it's 99.5% magma. But I'm just saying, from the perspective of thermodynamics, there's a contradiction with thermodynamics, that the heat, like what is preventing, like what's stopping that heat from just heating up the measly 0.5% that has a huge, that's spread out over the entire surface area of this 99.5% magma ball. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Even if the Earth was round, that is clearly false, what they're claiming about the magma, the magma core geology thing. It just it simply can't be according to thermodynamics, which I think, the basics of thermodynamics is sound, in the sense that, yeah, we know heat flows, and we know that if you put, like I say, like if you had a 6-foot, I'm just estimating, I don't know if this is the accurate dimensions, but it would be something like this. If you had a huge 2000 degree iron ball and you put a layer of aluminum right up against it, whatever, as thin as a piece of paper, how would that heat not flow into that? It's just, anyone can do these experiments. Like, heat will flow into the cooler materials that it's in contact with. So they're claiming for billions of years, somehow this heat just doesn't flow into this other matter that's sitting right on top of it, even though it's a minuscule, absolutely minusculely thin layer that's sitting on top of this molten metal, which is, these ultimate, most conductive materials. It makes no sense at all.
Do you like the heliocentric story for our iron core, our oversized iron core? Do you know this story?
Well, why don't you give me your take on it?
Well, my understanding from heliocentric, my understanding was that there's a planet called Theia that hit Earth when it was a smaller planet at a glancing blow.
Moon.
And yeah, correct. All of that debris then coalesced to create the moon. But what we were left with on Earth was an oversized iron core, which is why we haven't cooled as quickly as predicted, or would be the case based on the maths. But yeah, so it's one of the probable causes of the creation of the moon is another secondary planet eventually smashing into Earth at a glancing blow, leaving us with an oversized iron core.
Well, that seems like, how could that be anything other than speculative? And yeah, I don't know. I think anyone should be able to see that the fact that they ever assert these things as if they're anything remotely like a fact just shows that they have no integrity as scientists, right? Like, that they're not like, okay, well, this is one idea we had, but here, why don't you take a look at it? Here's what we've got. No, they say, no, this is how it is. This is the case. I mean, I do think that they do leave that somewhat as, an open question on some level. Like, they don't claim to know all the details of everything about that process, and they create the theater of some debate around the details, but it seems totally preposterous to me. And then, yeah, there's, I found that problems with the moon orbit, in the sense that this idea about how the moon came to have what do they call it when it's the fact that we're always seeing the same face? They have a word for this. I can't remember the actual term right now, but just the fact that from our perspective, the moon doesn't rotate, that the moon's orbital period and rotation are exactly synchronous. Yeah, I'll give you a second.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I was just saying that this model that they've proposed about how the moon came to have a For some reason, I just can't think of the word, but it's the fact that we always see the same face of the moon, how the orbital period and the lunar day came to be perfectly synchronous, right? So that we always see the same face.
Like tidally locked. Yeah, tidally
Tidal
locked.
lock, tidal locking, right? So when I, actually, it's interesting because before I became a flat earther, I was kind of for a while a bit obsessed about, or I just thought it was very odd that this tidal locking phenomenon. I was like, it's very odd that we always see the same face of the moon. It's bizarre actually, because the degree of synchrony between the rotation and the orbit has to be like down to a nanosecond to maintain that, right? Like even if it was a nanosecond off, after 1,000 years, the moon will eventually turn completely around, right? So literally the orbital period and the rotation are like down to like, they're perfectly synced. So it's doing these two completely separate movements and they're completely synchronous. And when I actually looked at the mathematical the gravitational physics that they were proposing, created this tidal locking state of affairs, it didn't make sense. It didn't make any sense according to their model. I mean, this is, like I say, this is before I ever was even willing to entertain the flat earth, before I was willing to even, I mean, it's funny because YouTube was trying to make me watch flat earth stuff for like a year. And I was like, no, I'm not even going to watch that shit. Like I really had a kind of very dismissive view of it. I must admit, but I did know that there was some very bizarre anomalies seemingly with, I mean, I knew I guess that there is still a lot of questions in gravity in mainstream science, although it's not presented that way by people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. If you actually kind of look deeper into it, there is some, there are mainstream scientists who challenge general relativity and things like that, because general relativity is just ridiculous and bizarre. And that's another thing people don't realize. Like, I think if the average person was asked to really think about Einstein's theory critically, that they would come to realize that it doesn't make, it's just kind of silly, this idea of space bending, right? That, really according to Einstein's physics, and I think this is something that globe earthers need to be reminded of. According to Einstein's physics, when, if you're in a plane and you drop something you let go of something with your arm out of the window of the plane, that thing doesn't fall. Space bends and just bends the space together between the Earth and that object. That's what general relativity says, that space bends. Everything's still and space bends.
So I had to wrap your head around.
It's silly. It doesn't, obviously, like if we want to make something go sideways, you need to apply a force. And if you want to make something go up, you need to apply a force. But then things just go down and there's no force. They don't think that's a force. That's just the exception. No, it's not a force, because like according to general relativity, it says this in the first paragraph of the entry in Wikipedia, gravity is not a force. It's the geometry of space-time. It's the distortions of the geometry of space-time. And this idea that time is a dimension, it's really doesn't make any sense. I mean, time is just a result of the fact that everything doesn't happen simultaneously. I mean, if there was no time, then everything would be in the same place. So it's to treat it like a spatial dimension is purely theoretical. There's no evidence that time is a spatial dimension. It's silly. Yeah, so I think a lot of, I think just show people, if people really got a sense of how kooky mainstream physics really is, and how Einstein's theory of gravity fails on its own terms. That's why they had to invent dark matter and dark energy. This was a whole thing that I was very interested in before I became a flat earther, where I was like, this whole thing has to go. They don't know, I was thinking they don't understand gravity and they're pretending they do. But this Einstein shit, no, this is silly. Newton didn't really have a theory of gravity. He just had a mechanics of gravity, which breaks a lot of sort of fundamental ideas of physics as well, because it's the idea that gravity is an instantaneous force, which doesn't really make any sense either. So yeah, like there's their own theory is very problematic by its own logic. Anyways, I'll stop ranting on that now. Who's joined us here?
Ace McLeod. How you doing, Ace? Good to see you.
No, he's not talking yet. Anyways, I was going to say regarding. Hi. Oh, hi.
How you doing, Ace?
You can carry on.
I was going to say what I would like to debate, what I would like to hear from a globe earther is about this geological model, how it is that 99.5% of the planet could be magma, molten hot, while this 0.5% of other matter just doesn't end up coming into doesn't end up at the same temperature as what's underneath it. Like what's the cause of that?
Right.
Because
and where does all the helium come from? Assuming it must have came from the planet's creation, because you can't just make helium. Anyways, whenever y'all are ready, I just wanted to read a comment I wrote today, and it does apply kind of to debates as well. But you go on. I didn't mean to cut you off, Numi. Hey,
no.
Marty. What's up, man?
By all means. No, it's okay. I was just talking for a while, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's just random. I just wrote some comment to a dude on a YouTube channel. I don't even remember which one it was, but I'll just read it, instead of trying to explain it, whatever. So I'm still trying to figure out why these guys still always defer to the sky, which is electric in nature, to prove anything about the shape of the Earth, especially when high altitude balloons and rocket footage exist. Thousands of long distance photographs and videos exist showing that the Earth cannot be the diameter of a ball that we are taught. Also notice they seem to shy away from the fact that we are not spinning, and this has been shown multiple times. Every once in a while you get a novice globie try to bring up the Foucault pendulum, but veterans know enough to stay away from that hot mess. Foucault, the same dude that proved the Earth was spinning using an ancient arcane brass gyroscope, seems even today with the best precision gyroscopes, accelerometers, MEMS devices, ring lasers, interferometry, etc., we cannot seem to replicate this saint of science results. I dare not say he may have lied. No, I won't say it. I can't. I shan't. This debate is long over. Now, everyone, humans, let's get on the same page and finally start researching answers to the harder questions, the questions left unanswered, and do it as a team. Flat versus globe research debate is the quintessential peer review. Answers to what? For starters, just picking one at random, let's figure out exactly what is the moon. Why does it behave in a way that we cannot reproduce with physical objects? For instance, a full moon, how is it lighted up from edge to edge with the same intensity when we know that in experiment and experience, a ball reflecting light back at an observer will be most intense in the center and fading to dim as it approaches the edges, as the edges are casting light back at an obscured angle. Looking at the craters, what are they? If they are truly depressions on the surface, this would explain why they're dimmer, because they're sloped and therefore will reflect light at obscured angles. Makes sense. However, the edge of the full moon are sloped as well. In fact, much greater, approaching the outer rim of the ball moon. So why is the outer rim not dimmed as well? Also, why are these craters all shallow in depth and all at perfect 90-degree angles to the surface? Not one asteroid hit the moon at a glancing blow. Take that a step further. All of the craters we see are on the side of the moon facing the Earth. Hence, the Earth should have acted as a shield to block any oncoming direct blows from space debris. Seems we should only find some angled impact craters at best on the Earth side of the moon, if any. It would be, however, logical to find craters on the side or the back of the moon, as it is always exposed to outer space. More on craters. Why do they seem to have small hills in the center? How can we reproduce this effect in experimentation? Now, if the moon were a disk, we can now justify a full moon being lit even. However, this introduces more problems, with everyone always being able to see the same full face of the moon from any spot on Earth at moonrise or high moon. Same applies to the ball moon as well. This would create a problem. So moonlight, what is it? Why does it have different properties of that of sunlight if it's actually reflecting sunlight? Or are we just assuming that? The spectrum of moonlight varies greatly from sun. How can the moon change frequencies of light that it reflects? Moonlight seems to affect plants, animals, decay, fires, and temperature in an unknown way. Let's test these properties. Why does the moonlight not excite the sky to turn blue at all, in the same way that the sun might? And why is there no earth shine visible on the moon, just like the moonshine casts light on Earth, Earth being bigger and more reflective? So I say we all work together to find answers we can all agree on, instead of arguing old dying points of sticks, shadows, or water level, etc. Same old same. Ace out.
Well, you made some very good points there, Ace. Thank you.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of unknown things. You know, you can always jump to Google, of course, but I mean, like I said about the moon, and there's many more about the moon, and they do not have good answers that we can all agree on. We can
That's
all
true.
agree we see the sky and it's blue, globe or flat earther. We can all agree water's level, globe or flat earther. I mean, y'all might think it's curve level, whatever, but there's certain things everyone can agree on. A lot of things, but when it comes to cosmology, it seems there's like a a big divide. There's a lot of wishy-washiness. Like for instance, the craters. They're to me, they're not impact craters. That just doesn't happen that way. So you know what I mean? Let's if we can start piecing together things that both sides can agree on. I mean, we're both on the same team, okay? Like you, both of us have to agree there's some, you call it an evil force kind of working to not let us reach our full potential, okay? They're occulting stuff from us. They want us to go to school, just get a job, slave away, you know, working for the system. It's you got to realize there is powers at play that are keeping us down. If everyone was on the same page and trying to really just do the best, like I mean, our society would be some shit from a science fiction movie, like a utopia. We could do that right now.
I would
Go
say
ahead.
that an interesting thought about that is that it's kind of, I thought of this recently, but it's kind of funny that if they taught people that the earth was flat, they would believe it for the wrong reasons, just like they believe the globe for the wrong reasons. So it's kind of interesting that actually maybe lying about it does bring out some kind of latent human potential, in the sense that it teaches you not to be intelligent and to do a proper analysis of the facts, but it teaches you how to be an independent thinker, and it sort of teaches you to have the real courage it takes to be an independent thinker. And people underestimate that takes courage. No, it really does take a lot of courage, because you will, there's a lot of social thought policing that people are doing to each other, in the sense that, you can people lose friends over this subject, or people lose esteem with their peers over their, even to just entertain the idea of the flat earth. That's been, I found that personally, it's not been as bad for me as some people have said it was for them, but maybe that's just because I know a lot of more open-minded kind of people. But there's certainly people that I wouldn't bring it up with. It's not something that I talk about at work or something like that, right? But but just getting back to the original point, it's that if they taught us flat earth, maybe we'd all believe it for the wrong reasons. It's kind of an interesting thought.
Anybody else want to jump in? Hey there.
Host. I call host. Ronnie.
How's it going, guys?
God. Hey, you souls. Ronnie, brother. Good God Almighty.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
How's everybody
time.
doing?
Yeah.
That was some interesting, well said words put together there by Nummy Num.
Nummy Num. Very good, brother. Bang on.
What's up, Nummy Num?
Hello,
What's up,
everybody.
Ace?
Nice to meet you all.
Peace and love.
Totally. Yeah, we saw a debate. Jason was interested in maybe debating me over maps.
Well, actually, I was just wondering, I was listening to your guys' comments about the Earth being flat. Does everybody here agrees the Earth is flat, right?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
it's bumpy in parts, and there's mountains and valleys and bits that drop, but overall, yeah, flat.
Yeah.
But 90 degrees.
All I'm going to agree to is that it doesn't curve at 8 inches per mile squared.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
And it doesn't match the heliocentric model nonsense in the slightest. So whatever else is going on is open for interpretation.
I think
Okay.
there's evidence that 90 degrees is the same at every point on the Earth that we have so far discovered. That the 90-degree direction remains static across the plane. So that flat in that sense. Obviously, there's some three-dimensionality to the surface topography, but that if you were to use if you're measuring 90 degrees with a weight on a string, that you're going to find it's the same everywhere.
Like a plumb bob. Well, what I like to tell people, it's the bottom of the Marianas Trench to the top of Everest, and that's our firma, our land that we dwell upon, right? So, I've made some recent discoveries with maybe the waters above and the waters below are actually the solid waters, which would be the salt water in the lakes and the streams, and then the waters above would be the air and the atmosphere. I think the firmament is the center of where we live in this. Well, you guys know, I believe that it's like a simulation type of a dream, but I do think it's a flat plane. There's so many crazy things that don't get talked about. Like, if you guys would believe it or not, we're trying to share as much research as possible. I know you might not always agree with our tactics, but we do what we do. There are active groups on Facebook that literally say, unfortunately, we cannot talk at all about any of these truths that this channel or these people are talking about, regardless of whether or not it's actually truthful. The censorship right now is at an all-time high. And I just wanted to ask everyone on the panel, are you guys being censored, and do you have any ideas on how to fix this?
Yeah, big time. I'm copyrighted. I have been for 3 months. Every single day, I just put a video out. Chose not to get a copyright. I went into my own library of nearly 800 videos, used my own video, and still got copyrighted for it. My own work.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's happening all the time. My account is a mess. It's just for the love of the truth. There's no other reason that drives me personally. I think that's enough. The rest of it, it's part of the devil's in the details, Ronnie. And we're using this tool. So what the fuck are we gonna do? We just got to get on with it.
Well,
and
Jason,
best we can.
His subscriptions totally disappeared today, Martin. They just like, he's like, check this
Yeah?
out. Yeah, tell everybody. Dude.
That might be to undermine you. That might be to wind you up them. So don't take it personally. It might not be people. That might be them trying to undermine you, wind you up. They do shit like this. YouTube will play people against one another, move comments, create
Yep.
situations.
Trigger.
YouTube.
Trigger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all the time.
I love it.
My subscription feed, it only would show me one video, and the only one it would show me was a Mark Sargent video, and there was
Yes.
no other videos out of my entire subscription feed. That was it.
Man. That's terrible, man. That's terrible. So how many did you lose? How many?
All the
When just the subscriptions, like I'm subscribed to channels, the ones that I pay attention to.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
You
yeah,
know-
yeah, you'd have to do it again. Yeah.
Y'all
Oh,
were talking about Mark. So I found out about Flat Earth almost 3 years ago, and it was really Eric and Math Powerland kind of doing their thing. I didn't even see Mark until like months and months later,
yeah.
and I still haven't watched his clues videos yet. I wanted to. I just forget or whatever. But yeah, I was like, people were like saying, "Oh, this dude Mark's a shill, this and that." I'm like, "Who's Mark? Like, what?" That's the first time I heard the word shill in Flat Earth too was referred to.
You might be immune to MK.
Poor guy.
You're probably immune to it. You're
Well,
MK immune.
I was super naive
I
to the
hope
whole
so.
thing. I didn't understand what shills and trolls were because I wasn't like I was doing research, but I really knew nothing about the whole shill and troll thing. And the first time I ever heard it applied to anything was hearing Eric DeBay call out like Mark and Patricia. That's when I started my education in shills and trolls began.
You find out quick, right? You learn about the trolls particularly.
And now
Well,
you're
we-
head shill spotter, right? Just
We've,
kidding.
we've rebranded that. So you know how the CIA likes to target keywords like conspiracy theorist, right? So what we've done is we've taken the word troll and we've changed it from a monster that sits in a basement, because we're all children of the light. Every truth seeker out there is someone after the light, after the truth. So we've changed it to like trolling, like we're trolling for truth, and
Hold on.
and what's up, Nathan?
Wait.
We
Trolling-
don't want to be.
Totally.
You're onto it. You're
Yeah.
onto it. Trolling comes from, it's a fishing term. It's a
Yeah.
trolling
Yes.
motor is when
Oh.
you're putting around a lake trying to fish. And what do trolls do? They try to fish and bait you. Okay, that's
trolling
really
for
where that
truth.
term came from. And then of course people think troll under the bridge,
Right.
Yes.
whatever.
But
Well,
it's
they've
both.
wanted to. They've tried to make us all look like trolls under the bridge, right?
It's both at the same time. I mean, they both apply pretty well in different contexts depending on what you encounter, right? I mean, there are the troll under the bridge trolls, and then there's the commercial fisher trolls, right? They're both operated.
For sure.
But it's kind
Yeah,
of a
man.
lovely term in that sense. It's kind of nice how it encompasses all of that in one word.
Yeah, we're trying to totally rebrand trolling for the truth and show people how it's a good thing. It's actually a badge of honor. It's only when it's used, trolling for lies and deception that would be the troll under the bridge.
Right. Well, that's like the idea of propaganda. It's like if you're just propagating ideas. So the word propaganda has gotten a bad rap. When it was originally introduced, it didn't have that stigma attached to it. It was just the idea of propagation of ideas, right? But then, yeah, if you're creating propaganda of the truth, then yeah, more power to you, right? It's just that so much of propaganda has been used to disinform us that the whole idea has become viewed in a negative light.
Yeah. So, Ronnie and I, we take a firm stand, and we've been fighting against a group of people, and really the core of the fight has been over this whole AE model thing. And I've got material on my channel that's over a year old where I started exposing the flaws in the AE model. Ronnie was actually doing it a little bit before me, and we've worked together. We've analyzed each other's materials and cross-checked them. We've had the videos up on our channels for a long time, and So our big, complaint is that this AE model doesn't work. So I guess debate wise, I would like to ask you guys, do you support the AE model and why?
Can I answer first? Okay, real quick. Was the AE model like one of the first things you saw when you accepted Flat Earth, or did it like, you know what I mean? The AE
Yeah,
map or the
it was,
Yeah,
Gleasons?
definitely.
Okay,
it was,
so
it
here's
was
the deal.
fundamental.
And this is why Flat Earth is gaining any kind of momentum nowadays, is that it's a culmination of social media being connected to everybody. Because in a small town, there's only like a handful of people that think like you, but all over the world, there's going to be a lot. And you come together and you kind of combine forces. Imagine 20 years ago with no ability to share pictures or videos. It's like you're just talking. Have you ever tried to explain Flat Earth to someone with just words? It's
Yeah,
damn near impossible.
yeah,
So
you have
the
to paint
AE
a
model,
picture. You need models. Yeah.
right? The AE model is something that it's just a quick thing that's like, oh, now you can visualize it instead of you're thinking this waterfall off the edge of Earth, right? Shit that's in your brain from when you're 5. It's like you said, it's a model. That you use that word, and that's what it is. It's just a graphic representation to get an idea across. Now, do you have something else that's more accurate? And I agree with trying to work on something more accurate. But there's no problem with like showing that to someone that's never heard of flat Earth. It gets the idea across.
But
That's what I think.
I understand where you're coming from, but let's just think about this as far as like what you were saying. You want to have something that you can wake somebody up with, right? A model, something that you can point them to help them understand flat Earth.
Right.
Well, I'm
Yeah. So that that model. So when you give them the AE model, and you help them learn the Earth is flat by showing them the AE model, what happens when somebody else tells them that the AE model doesn't work because of these flaws? Like, then we have to go on and explain to people how Earth is still flat, even though the AE model is incorrect. Would you
well, I
agree?
think there's this whole subject of just that there's this problem with these models in general, and that there's layers and layers of just models of other details and things like that that are also problematic. And yeah, it's something that people, I guess, probably deters a lot of people early on, or something that people get stuck on. But ultimately, it's the local observations that can show this flatness, and then you need to work from there out, and not, if you can't start with the big picture. That's the mistake that people tend to make, which why they become duped into the globe Earth in the first place, if they think about it.
Because do you guys understand? Tim's here in the hangout with us. The main thing he does when he is trying to keep people from learning flat Earth is point out the southern celestial rotation. He's been doing this for a long time. He's actually the one that woke Ronnie up to the problem. Ronnie's mentioned that. Okay, so
Well, it's an illogical argument that he's making. It's, if you actually break it down to its logical components, it does not, there's no conclusion that the Earth is therefore a globe, that it can emerge from any celestial observations.
It's not a globe. It's not a globe. We've already learned that.
Right.
And
I'm just saying that logically speaking, you cannot ascertain the shape of the Earth from any celestial observations.
So you're saying, in
with
conjunction with the latitude and longitude systems, the stars cannot give you any kind of logical inference to what the shape may be?
No, they can't.
That's your opinion.
No, it's not my opinion. I'm saying logically.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. If you cannot
Then
show me a
justify that.
logical syllogism.
It seems that way at first.
No, you cannot. Tim, I challenge you to actually write a formal logical statement to that would.
No. You have a problem with it. So why is it not logical to be able to look at a working model, the heliocentric model or the sphere Earth geocentric model,
or the
and say,
model
hey,
that we have, or the
Okay,
model that we have.
Let me wait. I
Can
want
you
to
all
answer
just
that.
let him
Sorry.
finish his question? He's not spoken. He's sat there politely. He's not being rude. Just let him finish his question.
I'm just trying to point out that you said that it's not logical to make an argument in saying that it's evidence in a preponderance of evidence of logical inferences one can make when looking at the celestial sphere. Now, they've been calling it a celestial sphere for quite a while. Okay, so most people that have any kind of I don't know, intellectual fortitude like Event Skeptic and Ronnie or Jason here actually have looked into it and understand that it does basically logically necessitate a sphere, but it can be, I guess, explained on a flat Earth in their model.
Yes.
No, it doesn't. Listen, I just want to answer.
Let me
because
know when I can talk.
Okay, I just wanted to say this because I'm the one who asserted this idea about the logic of the argument. I'm just saying that from the premises given about the observations of the heavens or the celestial, the sky, basically the stars, all of that, there's no way that to add up to that the conclusion that the Earth is spherical will naturally be produced from the premises, and that's what
You just
logic
keep asserting
requires.
that. I told you specifically,
No,
it's evidence.
No,
It's evidence.
I'm not. I'm challenging you to make a formal logical argument.
No, because you have just logically basically denied the whole argument of the star trails in the celestial sphere,
No,
and you
I
have
haven't.
absolutely no justification for that. You just asserted it, and then asserted it again, and then challenged me to logically back up what I've said.
No, I'm just saying that if you actually look at this as a formal logical argument, that your conclusion does not.
Who said that? Who said that I was making a formal logical argument? Why have you just made that straw man here? Like,
I didn't make the straw
what's
man.
the point?
No, I didn't make a straw man. I said that if I said you can't make a formal logical argument from which that conclusion derives from those premises.
Okay,
And
there's
you
the assertion again for the fourth time. So can you justify that in any way?
I can model
yes,
it.
I can.
I can model it.
No, but I can justify that, Tim. I can, and all that I can, how I can justify that is saying, okay, you tell me if we look at what your premises are,
justify your assertion. Okay, you don't have to look at my premises. All you have to do is justify your assertion that the argument is null for some reason. So go ahead into that some reason, please.
Okay. I'm just because the conclusion doesn't follow from the premises. That's why.
Ronnie,
okay, I'm talking about your assertion. Can you go on with your assertion? Why the argument in general?
Boo! You suck.
Ronnie, can you not do that? Just don't.
Okay, I'm saying that if we look at
does anybody care that I can model it?
Well, we'll get to you. There's no time pressure, Jason. Just let them thrash it out. You'll get your chance. There's no time pressure here. You don't need to get your point
Stay
in
muted while other people are talking, like how I'm cutting Nathan off right now. Don't do that. Just kidding. But let me know when I can speak.
I wrote this down, and I'm just gonna. I have this written out somewhere. I'm just gonna see if I can find it, because I actually wrote out a formal argument about this. And Tim, if you're going to say that that you can logically conclude the spherical Earth from celestial observations, there is an obligation to actually show that this conclusion follows from these premises. So I'm saying it doesn't, but
I don't know how many times I actually have to tell you that this is just one evidence of the preponderance of evidence for a spherical Earth. Okay, when people take logic and they say, hey, I can go to this latitude and longitude and see these stars, I can see these circumpolar stars, I can see the virtual celestial point, okay, and then I can go over here to the other hemisphere and do similar things and then start building a logical case for it. Okay, so you have to prove how it doesn't logically necessitate the two celestial poles, arc star trails over your head at your zenith over at the equator, how that doesn't in any way logically necessitate the Earth as a sphere. Please do.
Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna, I gotta just find where I've written this out. Normally.
While
So
he's
move
looking,
on in the
while he's
meantime, and I'll find
looking,
it.
real quick, what happens when you're faced with two different things? Like, for instance, the stars would
Okay.
seem, hold on, what the stars would seem like to show a globe, right? But then the Earth and the water actually seems to show that it's flat. Now, y'all are familiar with the electric universe theory type stuff. You know, there's electromagnetic flux lines, and this is hitting right onto your celestial sphere, right? So these electromagnetic lines, let's just assume that it's a flat plane, right? So this electromagnetic toroid or sphere is actually going above and then down through the plane and underneath, wrapping around, okay? So what if these stars and all this other shit is just an electromagnetic feature, okay? They're like apparitions, and they literally are going down through the plane back around because they're not physical. They're just a light show of some sort, and yet the plane is flat. You kind of understand where I'm going with that, because we're at a crossroads, because there's a preponderance of evidence on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of great shit for the globe, but
What
it's
flat
all
Earth?
usually star based, okay? And we don't know what the stars are. And I opened up with talking about the moon. No one really knows what the fuck the moon is. We can't replicate how it works, okay? But anyways, y'all can carry on.
So I think that we've gone into the composition argument on how, you know, if you don't know the composition of something, if it's not tangible to you, then there's absolutely no way that you can make an observation. And I think that's just absolute blasphemy. And the point here is that pretty much why I say logically necessitates, when you can take a sphere and then you can put a bunch of points, say in a program on the computer, put a bunch of points and then have that sphere spin in a stars field, you can get something similar to what we have in reality, what we all can observe at different latitudes, most importantly, but longitudes as well. So that's all it is that it can be mapped out. It is in Stellarium and other programs. So why fight it? Why not find out how it works on a flat plane instead of just saying, well, yeah, there's a donut in the sky, and what if the Earth is flat? Well, it doesn't seem to be. And look, all the problem here is that we're taking observations, and people have different explanations for the observations. I can look at Soundly's work, I can look at Al-K's work and say, hey, look, there's obstruction due to curvature. Hey, look, there seems to be curvature between these lines, basically a force the line experiment right there in front of your face for free that someone's doing for you. But people would rather say that it's CGI or there's CGI ospreys, or, you know, it's all
I
fake.
proved that
basically.
there was CGI ospreys.
So you're one of the, okay, all right.
I'm the
Well, you know
guy who
what?
did it. I'm the guy who did that, and successfully.
Okay, so that's where I actually take a bow. There's raw video that you can go and download, and this happens. He does many experiments, so I don't want to talk to someone so pathetic. So thanks, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a pussy.
Right, Jason, you've been waiting patiently, and now you've got undoubtedly an opportunity to talk, hopefully without interruption.
Does anyone that what that argument was all about between Tim and I don't know the fact that we can actually model this on our model, that we could all put this model, we could work on it together. We could show how by plotting the azimuthal rise and set angles of the sun for your latitude and longitude, you wouldn't believe the things that we can actually know from all that. We can determine whether or not the map is correct. We could all test and verify this from our own locations, and we would be able to, totally guarantee and quantify this evidence that
I think there's a
this
problem.
map, this model that we're presenting, it does in fact work. And so we are in a situation where we know that there are serious flaws with the AE model.
Yeah, listen.
It can be shot apart like crazy. And so we are the people that know that Earth is flat. And so we need to have a different map and model because, of course, people are going to ask us, how does the sun rise and sun set? And if we say they do circles like this, they're going to be, you are an idiot.
Yeah, but listen, there's a big problem with both sides of this argument that I'm seeing, which is that if we don't know the precise nature of what we're observing, the sun, the stars, the moon, if we don't know precisely what those things are physically, then we cannot make any inferences.
Don't tell me we can't measure them, because I know what the angular width of the sun and moon are.
I'm not saying we can't measure them. I'm saying we
can measure them.
That's not what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter what they are. We can measure them. We can take the actual data, the rise and set angles, the solar noon declination, the moon's meridian passing, and we can plot this all out over a map, and it actually verifies whether or not the map is correct. We can actually guarantee that the map is dead on nuts.
Sorry, Jason, to interrupt. Just please, Ronnie, there's no need. That's the second time I've asked you. If you do it again, I'll just have to boot you.
Can you hear me?
Of course we can hear you.
I was trying to talk. I didn't think anyone could hear me.
Right, don't give me bullshit, Ronnie. You don't need to bullshit a bullshit artist. That's me. Right, just don't do it, please. Second time I've asked you. Sorry, Jason. Do you want to carry on? I'm really sorry.
Does anybody care that we can actually model this on our map?
No, I care. I'm just saying
so how come you haven't reached out to me? How come you're not trying to promote the work?
What do you mean? I've just met you right now. I'm not aware of your work. I'm listening to what you're saying.
Nathan, do people know who we are?
I don't know who you are. I'm sorry.
Does it matter?
I'm busy. I've tried to follow as much as I can. I'm trying to do my own independent research. I'm very willing, open, interested to anything you have to say. I'm just trying to introduce, I feel like there's this blind spot that both sides of this argument have relating to this topic that has to do with logical inference.
I think you're trying to create the blind spot. I don't think there's a blind spot there.
No, I'm not trying to create a blind spot. That's not my intention at all. And I don't appreciate you telling me what my intentions are. But
I'm not concerned about that. I'm going to walk through.
You just told me what my intentions are. So don't tell me you're not concerned about it. I'm just saying, don't psychoanalyze me. There's no need for that. I'm not doing that to you. I've said, I'm willing to hear you out. I will follow your work if I think that it's interesting and worthwhile. I'm interested in anybody who's doing genuine, sincere research on this topic. Whether you're right or wrong, I respect it completely.
How can you sit there and say you're a flat Earth researcher, but you've never seen either one of our channels? That's an absolute craziness.
Well, that's just no true Scotsman kind of argument. You're going to use that on me?
Dan Pratt said, my commenters tell me your channel's good, I'll support you. That's what Pratt answered me. Oh, if my commenters tell you.
You know what? That's a very childish argument that you're making, and it's not relevant.
I'm making the childish argument. Are you guys not all researchers? That's what I thought we were in a research movement.
You know how many flat Earth channels there are? I'm subscribed to a bunch of them. You can go check. And the fact that they have not seen yours yet says nothing about my character as a researcher. That's ridiculous. That's the most absurd thing. You're already making me not want to look at your channel by the fact that you're clearly logically challenged. But
okay, let's just cut the bullshit aside. Listen,
if you research
maps and flat Earth and proofs, you would have come across us. You're here for other reasons. I don't know you. I liked what you had to say off the beginning here when I jumped in. Nathan didn't like playing with the soundboard. He gave me the boo. I'm just trying to have a good time, and we've been trying to share this information with people, and either we're so censored. How come Jeranism comes up on every single video? You click on a flat Earth video, you're going to see 10 Jeranisms, 5 Mark Sargents, but how is it that nobody types into the search bar flat Earth alternative map? Or have no one ever heard of Beyond Flat Earth? I just don't understand. Is it because we're supposed Christians? Is that we're labeled? Is that what Jason's just telling you guys? We can completely explain the Earth as a map, as a flat Earth, as a ball, as whatever shape you want.
Why don't you
We've expressed the rises.
You don't need to get emotional here, man. Just I'm willing to listen to what you're saying. So why don't you tell me about your ideas instead of whining about?
That's what we're trying to do.
For over a year now, we've been sharing how the celestial poles work, both north and south. We've shown how the magnetic lines work. We've shown how to get rid of having two magnetic norths. You only have one. We've shown how the sun rises, sets due east, and sets due west twice.
I think I may have seen it. I think I may have seen your work. Are you working with the Russian guy?
No.
Okay, because I've seen another thing about that sounds similar to what you're saying. I've seen some
totally disproven the 24-hour sun in the north and the south. It supposedly stays up in the air for 50 straight days above our head. Not one person on the face of the earth has ever recorded a sun not setting. No one, not one video. The only one was the fake, whatever his name was, Steve Wilkes. And he had the video published under animation. Eric Dubé played the video, and then every shill channel thinks that there's a 24-hour sun. It was completely fake. We've shown how the map works. We've been asking someone to come and debate us, but it looks like maybe it's not Nummy's problem, Jason. Maybe we just are so censored that our videos aren't even searchable.
Well, then we have to thank Nathan for helping get the word out here. Nathan, I would love to hear from you. I'd like to have you weigh in on this. Have you heard of us before? Have you ever heard of Awake Souls and Event Skeptic?
Yeah, I know who you both are.
Okay. What do you think of the map and model?
I mean, I know you are. I don't actually watch your channels, but what I would say is
so. You're telling me that you don't watch my channels. Yeah, we're at war here. What's going on?
Yeah, that's
listen, man, you guys got to just stop this whining. Like, I will check out your channel, but you can't be like, you're not a real flat earther if you haven't seen my channel. That's just insane. That's really
the thing I would say.
What are you doing? You're toxifying this conversation.
If we're in a war, we're in a heap load of problems right now. Really, what's going on?
You're right. We are in a heap load of problems. We got to come together. Don't attack me. I haven't come together with you yet. I'm willing to do it right now, right at this moment. Listen, I believe this. I'm fighting on your side of the war. So don't get caught up with this friendly fire shit. It's silly.
Okay. Have you seen Flat Earth Assholes video?
Yeah. I've seen some of his videos. I'm aware of him. Yeah.
Do you understand the flaws that he exposed in the AE model?
You know, I can't remember off the top of my head because I've seen so much stuff that it's not all clear to me. But if you could remind me what he was saying, I could probably.
No, Nathan. What are the flaws in the AE model? You've seen it.
I mean, I don't watch Flat Earth Asshole, but I mean, I know the AE map is flawed, but
yeah, I'm aware of that too. Yeah.
But
okay, so you know it's flawed. What flaws do you know about?
Well, I just don't want to discuss it. I mean, what I would say is
you don't want to discuss it.
You've been on for a while, and both of you are talking in past tense. You know, have you seen my videos? We've talked about this. We've talked about that.
I asked you if you know who I am. You know who I am.
Just calm down, guys. Seriously, just have it. You change. No, really, because you're attacking.
Yeah,
you're attacking.
So we're destroying you right now.
I'm calm. We just don't understand why people want to just play the ignorance card.
Well, you won't let me finish my sentence.
I feel like you're really lowering the quality of this, what was otherwise a pretty intelligent conversation here, by being kind of emotional and childish.
Hey guys, you better pull it together really quick because people are watching this. You are being judged right now. I would say the same
to you, my friend. I think you're embarrassing.
No, I'm telling you right now, you're being exposed. You better start acting like you're looking for the truth.
Exposed as what?
You guys don't even know.
Right. It's what I'm exposed that I haven't seen your videos. I'm willing to admit I haven't seen your videos.
No, so, that you are
gatekeepers.
Go ahead. You are gatekeepers holding on to and promoting the AE model.
I'm not promoting the AE model. I never said that once.
Right. Sorry. Can I just get you back on track just for a second?
What I said was that we don't know what the nature of this.
Bear with me, Nummy. I just want to try and bring this back on track. Ronnie, bear with me. Bear with me just 1 second. So. What I was trying to say was that you're talking in past tense about the videos that you've made and saying, why haven't you seen them? But this is now. You have an audience. Tell them all about what you've discovered.
Well, I did. I said we explained the star trails. We explained the map. We explained the model. We explained the motions of all the heavenly bodies. We explained that the firmament is the ground that you stand upon, that the top is Mount Everest, the bottom is the Marianas Trench. This is what we call firm. The firmament is the part where our feet touch the ground. We've explained all of that, and we've explained how the AE map doesn't work. They set it up right from the start. Look at Math Powerland's channel now. It's ridiculous. I can't send people there. I'm embarrassed that I even supported the guy in the beginning. He is an absolute lunatic. We got who's going to the conference? Are you going to the conference? Anyone here?
He's supporting him now. You've just mentioned his name. There's probably at least one person.
Hide names, Nathan.
Ronnie,
that's how we're not discovered. People who hide names are
slow
cowards.
Slow down.
You guys are name hiders.
Slow down. There's no time restraint here. You can let people finish a sentence. You're doing it immediately before I've even finished this sentence, Ronnie. Just slow down. Take a breath. There's no time restraints. We can let each other get our points out. Okay. I'm more than willing.
He just triggered me. He triggered me. I'm sorry. He triggered me because I know that there's active channels that suppress our names. They won't say our names, and we don't understand. We're here for the truth. We're here for you. You believe in flat Earth? We want to prove the Earth is flat. We're doing a 3-mile water level test that is going to conclusively prove it. We don't know for sure, but there's a really, really, really good chance because we've used the water levels to build things that it's going to end up flat, right? So, and you can't just justify it by saying the center of the Earth's level because literally we're going to build a straight wall level off of the starting point, and it would be, way above the curvature of the Earth. Anyone's going to be able to check it out. That's why I called everyone out. I called out 50 channels, Nathan. Like, hello, aren't people checking in the search bar anymore? Flat Earth proofs. Who wants to defend the flat Earth? Do you, Nathan, or are you just? Is it a talk show? I don't know.
You know what? I think that your approach is very unstrategic in the sense of like being pushy, emotional, and triggered.
There's been a year of this.
Yeah. Okay. You still have to keep your cool. You're gonna have to keep your cool for 10 more years if you want to stay in this. You're gonna have to learn to keep yourself calm and talk to people and not just be pushy and make accusations as soon as someone. This guy literally said to me, the fact that I had not watched his videos meant that I'm not a real flat earther.
I agree with
how
completely type into the search bar flat Earth and see our channels. We have hundreds. We have over 600
I know
videos.
you're making the same point, and it's still
you're making flat earthers look like idiots.
You're making flat earthers look like kooks.
Oh, I don't care. I'm standing on the truth. I'm standing on the truth. Nobody.
We're all standing on the truth. It doesn't matter. But you do need.
You're not standing on the truth. You don't even approach flat Earth.
The approach that you take to people does matter. If you act like this, they're not. Why would anybody want? I don't want to listen to you. Why would anyone want to listen to you? You sound like a jerk.
Quarterback. You're an armchair quarterback. Is what you're doing here.
Anybody that understands that you are gatekeepers and that we are actually presenting evidence, they're the ones that are going to want to listen to us, and they are the ones that are going to see right through you, totally transparent. Like you guys are.
I think the same about. I feel the same way about you. I'm not going to go as far as saying that accusing you of being a gatekeeper because that would be silly. But I do think that you need to work on your public relations skills quite a bit here. Actually,
could you be a gatekeeper by non-compliance? Just you don't kind of understand like how we go through different levels of truth.
You're saying if I don't agree with you, I'm a gatekeeper. I haven't even looked at your thing yet.
I think every single one of you are.
The fact that I haven't looked at your thing yet means I'm a gatekeeper. That's what you realize what you're saying. You realize?
Okay.
You realize the kind of leaps
the Earth was flat.
You realize how
that is comfortable. But you went around telling people the Earth is flat, and now we're going around telling you we can prove it. But yet everyone wants.
I think I can prove it too with other different evidence. There's lots of because it's flat. All the evidence supports that it's flat. It's not difficult to prove that it's flat.
What experiment are you promoting?
What proves the Earth is flat?
I personally, I don't have time to make videos.
Just right now, just from the top of your head, what experiment are you promoting that proves Earth is flat?
I'm not promoting any particular experiment. I think there's lots of different approaches that you could take to it. I think that you could measure water level over distance. Look at engineering
you're
schematics.
Both doing it again. Just let him speak. You've asked him a question, Ronnie and Jason. Just let him finish and speak. Take a breath. He will let you speak afterwards. And if he doesn't, I will check him. But we've got all the time in the world. I've said it again. Just let him.
We got it.
Now you're interrupting me for Christ's sake, Ronnie. All right, Ronnie. This is your last chance, Ronnie and Jason. If you interrupt again, I'm going to kick you both because you're just ruining a perfectly good show. Now, if you want to
No,
present... Hold on!
I'm
I haven't even finished this sentence and you're already interrupting. Jesus, get a grip. Right. If you can't help yourself, I will remove you. You will be welcomed back on the next show, hopefully to present some actual facts and evidence, rather than accuse everyone of being shills and continually interrupt. Feel free to present whatever you like. We will let you.
Okay.
What I am trying to tell you right now is that I do not need to take any advice from any one of you. The guy that was, telling me that I have a bad approach, this is my approach. I choose how I want to do things. I have my own strategies. Nobody tells me what to do. And so I do not like this format right here. I don't have to conform to your rules. We have our own channels, and we're here just to let you guys know that we are going to be live in a little bit on our channels, and you can come talk to us there, where I'm the moderator, when Ronnie's the moderator.
Okay.
We don't need your platform. All right. We just came on here. Yeah, to expose
you
you.
do have to conform to his rules. It's his
Hold on,
channel.
Nummy, just let him say his piece. I will let him plug his channel. He can he can spell out the names of his compadre. He can full shebang. Let him. If he wants to plug his channel and let everyone know who Awake Souls and Event Skeptic are because they don't feel they're getting enough exposure. I always feel like I'm not getting enough exposure. So I empathise. If they want to plug, give them a couple of minutes, let them plug away. Then, hopefully, we'll continue with gaps in between when people finish a sentence. But please, Jason, continue. Tell people all about your channel. Tell them all about your live stream. Hopefully, it'll get you a few more viewers. Wonderful.
Yeah, I wanted to let people know. I came on here to talk to you guys, to confront you on the problems with the AE map. And we see your stance. And we are going to continue to expose this on our channel. So we will be live on Awake Souls probably in like an hour and a half. I'm guessing about 8 o'clock tonight. We're going to continue to be doing shill exposing videos. We've been working on math. We have videos on all of you guys, and you've done nothing to dissuade us whatsoever. In fact, you've reinforced everything that we felt. So I ask everybody that's interested in exploring new models beyond the AE model to come join us, to check out my channel, Awake Souls, Ronnie's channel, Event Skeptic, and our co-channel, Beyond Flat Earth. Ronnie, can you add to it?
Oh yeah, I can throw my 2 cents in. I know everybody here. I used to be on, Skype calls with Martin and with Nathan and Patricia Steer and Bob Nodal. Jaron never once ever wanted to talk, so he wasn't on the friends list. Matrix Decode. I was an active member in this community. I pushed it a lot, shared the videos, shared the comments, shared the chats. Really, really thought I was in a truthful community with a bunch of brothers and sisters of mine. And I guess once I figured out that the AE map was completely impossible, I was the first to be extracized. And I just like to tell everyone here, I don't have any hard feelings. We need more truth seekers. We are just 2 guys, 2 witnesses to the truth. We don't tell you how to run your channels. We just tell you what we believe is the truth, and we want to be wrong. So if you can debunk us, perfect. But until you can't, just want to let you guys know we are leading the flat earth. We have all the truth. We have all the flat earth proofs. We've never deviated from our story. We speak absolute truth. And everyone that steps up to us is going to get... You got knocked the fuck out, man! And join us tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm out of here, man. I'll see you in a bit, JP.
Really good. So there's a link in the info box to Awake Souls channel. So if you want to check out his live stream, which will be running apparently in about an hour and a half's time, click on that link in the info box and check him out. Hopefully he'll realise that we are not in any way, shape or form against him. We simply don't watch his videos. That's it.
Hi, Nathan. How are you, old chap?
Very well, Martin. Have you been enjoying the show? Has it been good?
Yes, it's been great. I'm a gatekeeper. I don't even subscribe to a model.
Have you spoken to Nummy Num before?
I've seen him on a few hangouts over time, but not in the same hangout. Hi, Nummy Num.
Nummy Num, Martin,
Lovely stuff.
Nummy Num.
Awesome to meet you.
I haven't been as active as I would like to be in
It
chats.
doesn't matter. Look, you can only watch a few videos a day. There's only a few hours in a day. You know, these guys, like, you know, Ronnie been about for years, God love him, doing his thing. But, you know, that approach, I'm not even going to talk with that because that's not how people talk in the real world. Anyone talks to me like that in the real world is going to get a slap. So that's not the way people talk. That's just nut sap shit. So I'm not going to go there. That's too below me. Models, well, the truth is, guys, right, the solution is coming. But what people are going to have to do is be patient. And all this, all while I'm sitting back and watching everyone bickering about something they can't possibly prove, any of them, and it's actually ludicrous to watch. But the solution is coming.
Yeah.
But people need to be patient. That's all I can say, right? But the answer is there, and it is tangible, and it is real, and it's something we can fucking really all relate to. We just have to be patient. But these people, everyone, it seems to, you know, that guy with the AE, what's going on about? Like, you know, I don't even understand it. Yeah, it's got holes, whatever. I don't even bear that a thought once in a day. I actually don't even think about it like ever. I'm looking for a different answer. I actually think that in my personal experience, it's a spiritual realm of experience. I don't even think on the same levels as these people.
Yeah, me neither.
It's just fucking insanity. Honestly, it's like one flew over the cuckoo's nest then, brother. You know, like I was waiting for the Indian to chuck the fucking toilet through the roof, through the window and save us.
Yeah, and he's got those, like, he's hitting those samples that are like knockout. And so this guy, like, what kind of attitude is that? The guy's trying to be macho about flat earth or something. You know, and basically their argument is that if you don't agree with me, you're not thinking for yourself. Right? Like,
I don't know, mate. Honest to God, it's just, as I said, like, you know, watching that, it's just comical from my perspective. It's people who seem desperate, clutching at straws. They're not going to get answers like that. None of them. Not bickering with
Unbelievable,
one
right,
another,
Martin?
not pulling together.
This is
So
only
I would
show,
say if I
only
would
show number
suspect that
4.
anyone is trying to be
Sorry.
divisive, it's those guys, because they just started throwing accusations at me immediately.
Don't worry, brother. He does it to everyone. It's nothing
This
personal.
is
Like
show
that.
number 4,
Oh no, I don't
and
take
we've
it
had.
personally. I think a reflection of his character.
I've had what could be considered
Sorry.
some of the worst quote unquote trolls on this show. Right,
On the
I've only
internet,
had 4,
yeah.
and of all of them, that was the most moderation I've had to do so far by a mile. And there was 0 globe heads on the panel. It was all flat earthers. Doesn't that speak volumes?
Doesn't it?
That was weird.
Very weird. I thought that I've sent it to Ronnie in a comment. I thanked him for the advert because he made an advert telling everyone that I was a shill, provided absolutely no evidence. And I thanked him. You know, great advert. My name's in another video. Marvellous. But I think I also pointed out on the same comment, or on a separate comment, that he's missing an opportunity to actually tell people what his experiment is. So he's,
Yeah.
you know, he's saying, these people are shills. Why haven't they looked at our experiment? You're like, hold on, I'm watching this video. I'm actually...
So you're offering a platform to promote their shit, and he just fucking spunked it away. What is God?
But my point is that by the time I'd got to that video, Ronnie's video, I was watching, I was engaged, and rather than finding out all about his experiment, all I found out was that I'm a shill according to Ronnie, and I didn't find out a damn thing about the experiment. And today, I kept saying it to them, Martin. I kept saying, you're here now, and you keep speaking in past tense about videos we haven't watched. Tell us all about your experiment. Tell us all about what you've proved. We didn't get any of that. We just got, we're here to expose you. It's like, expose what? Sat on my couch in my lounge. How much more exposed can I be?
Well, the guy was saying, I'm a shill if I haven't watched his videos already. That's what he started off with. I was like, that is the most ludicrous thing I have ever had said to me in this context. I'm not sure it could get any worse.
Anyway, I would watch him.
Yeah.
They got delusions
Anyways,
of grandeur.
perhaps we should move on.
Delusions of grandeur. Do you know who I am? Do you know who we are? It's like, yeah, I do. You do know who we are. It's like almost, do you know how important we are is what he's really saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I know what he's saying.
You're not. Sorry. Neither am I. Neither is
he's
anybody.
Certainly not making me excited to watch more of his videos by acting like that. I mean, quite the opposite. I'm like, I think you have to be at least somewhat, you know, idiot. You have to have a fair amount of idiot in you to act like that. So.
Oh well, they're lucky then. There's a fair amount of them out there.
You know, if they're behaving like idiots, then I think they might actually be idiots. Maybe, you know, it's possible.
Oh, it was awful. Never mind. I come into up Nathan because he had the baby, And I thought, oh Christ, he's got a show on the go. So I popped in, like, just sit in basically and not get involved with any of it.
She was fine. She
But,
was fine for the most part, Martin. It was just after about, I don't know, 10 or 15, maybe 20 minutes. She knows her mother's in the other room, and at that point, there's nothing Daddy can do to stop her from screaming her head off. So
fair enough. I was just thinking, oh God, just kicking off. You got the baby. You can't get no fucking words. Jump in.
it was all good. But thank you. I'm glad you've come, Martin. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you, mate. Awesome.
Yeah, so I said to you in the chat, Martin, did you catch Tim Osman when he got a
No,
scammer
mate,
on the hook?
He's super busy. He's super busy just doing research and just punching videos out. The stuff I'm on do is just like pure addictive, and it just leads from one avenue to another, and I just can't leave it alone. It's just I'm like that with subjects, Nathan. I just chuck myself in, and you know, it's like these people are arguing they don't want to go no further. You know, they're stuck in a place. They just can't go no further. They can't see no objective. You know, there's nothing beyond that point. It's like it's not even defined yet for them. But like I've gone beyond that point, Nathan. It is defined for me, and I can see an answer. I can see a solution that these people can't see from my perspective. It's comical.
Right.
Does that make
Well,
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, and I think also, you know, we can allow each other to be wrong about the particulars. We've got to explore like scientists. So, you know, we want people to
You know the
we
big
want to
problem
encourage
here?
people to research this in their own
You
various.
hit it earlier, Nancy. You hit it earlier before I came in the chat. You talked about geology. You talked about the heat and the lava. Well, do you know what? It's a field I'm actually working on at the moment. Let me just tell you, everybody is going by the science. They're actually using the science. These people have given us the heliocentric model, yet we're willing to use the same science to argue with one another. So what you got to do is quite simple. Is get rid of all, like, the evidence is there.
Yeah.
The evidence is there. We just get rid of the evidence for the geology, for one. I'm a creationist, that's no problem. Just name a subject: chemistry, paleontology, the history. Just go through every academic subject, and it is all deeply flawed. It's just all built up on bullshit. You know it. So how can you argue like with like they keep going back these people to ancient Greece? They'll bring up Aristophanes. In my mind, in my time frame, this is bullshit made up.
Yeah.
I don't even think this time even exists. In fact, I can prove this time doesn't even exist. So, academic argument keeps everybody happy, keeps everyone entertained with sort of mind puzzles and everything else with no solutions. But I want a solution. I want truth for the people, so they're just not pissing in the dark, because that's a waste of time. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? We all on here to make 3-hour videos, dishing one another, and nothing to do with proofs, and nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing here. When the man is pretending to have Third World War, oppressing the people to shit, the whole world's in a terrible mess. Everyone ignores that, keeps watching X Factor. The people on the internet watch the drama that's going on in the internet, which is nothing to do with the shape of the earth, by the way. And that's the drama. And while we just like sort of just, well, the movement doesn't do anything, does it, in this period? It just lays dormant. Well, I'm not, because I'm moving fucking forward. I'm telling you what I am. I'm just not going to bother with stagnating or myself waiting for the next offensive from our own fucking people. I'm moving ahead. Otherwise, we are deeply telling you now, we're going to get our shit together, everybody. I hope people hear me, because this is the time. This is the time. This is what we're all doing here. Why we waste it, I'll never ever know. But maybe people will wake up more soon.
I agree with you, and I'm very much on the same page. I think that everything needs to be everything is up for review. Everything.
But
every single thing.
The answers are there with the bit that they've given us, like geology. Okay, when we go with strata, don't we? Like you mentioned, the heat. Okay, well, that's to do with what's happening now. Well, they are using climate change through CO2 in the air. Blah blah blah. Well, there's not. There's extra volcanicity in the atmosphere. That the circular fires add to extra volcanicity. There's liquefaction of Earth. There's these holes, these great holes that appear in all over the place. You know about them, these giant holes that people's houses disappear into. I can't remember the name of them. So there's geological, so the ground is in flux. Now, people in the flat earth do not want to approach volcanoes or earthquakes or anything to do, because it might sort of suggest Teutonic movement. Now, just pretend for a moment the Geonic movement fucking theory is absolute bullshit, which it is. No Pangea, none of this. Just forget about all of that. Just go with another theory, okay? Now, I can't go too deep into it because I just know it'll be fucking shit for me, all right? It's like the internet, yeah? So I'm just not going to go too deep into it, right? But the fact still remains that the geological record is deeply flawed. This strata thing, there's something deep, there's something else going on, right? I can explain it, but I don't want to do it here. It's going to take hours to reel it out. But the chemistry also deeply flawed, right? Now, what's going on in my mind, see, is I don't think we've actually been here all that long. I mean, after the flood. I mean, after the Noah's flood. The evidence is on the ground. If you say Google an image for the oldest inhabited city on earth, give me a painting of Damascus, 1600. There's only one available, and it shows a very sparsely populated city, and every one of them got a lighthouse. There's a bit of a story to that as well, and you can imagine 20 years before then, it's hardly populated before. 20 years before then, there's hardly anybody. So the theory goes, right, is we haven't really been here that long. I can prove that the first 1,000 years would be pre-Norman conquest. First 1,000 years AD has been added. So that's just bullshit. Forget about all that, because we weren't kicking around in the mud for 2,000 years and only got our shit together in the last 200 years. That is insanity to think that. That's just not possible. If anyone thinks they must have giant alarm bells, why now? Never before. But the television will say, well, it's some sort of alien seed or what have you, some sort of awakening of humanity with technology. That's not what's happened. This covering of the past is provable. But it's the academia are aware of this. Certain sections of academia are aware of it. And you're not allowed to talk about it. Honestly, it goes deep. It's really deep, and it's all to do with the shape of the earth, believe it or not. And it all ties in beautifully, guys. You're not going to believe it. It's astounding how it does it. And the moment it all makes perfect sense. I can't go too deep into it, guys. No. I can't.
What
for
is
reasons that I can't explain either.
Yeah. So what is your justification for all these wild claims you're making?
My justification is research on the ground. My life of experience working in archaeology.
You've done research.
Oh, on
Research.
Brenda. Let him
Couple of
answer you.
decades, actually.
Come on. Fair play.
Yeah,
You just
24
do it.
hours a day. I was up all night researching, not on my own, with other people.
No. I
Collaborative
mean,
research. You know all that.
I mean, I don't mean doing Google searches and looking at YouTube videos.
No,
I mean doing actual research.
Don't you dare insult me, Brenta.
So
Hold on,
what
Martin.
kind of field
Right.
research
Hold
have you
on.
done?
Hold on. Let's get some introductions done first of all.
don't
Sorry,
even try
Martin.
it,
Hold,
look.
What
hold,
field
hold your
research
tongue,
have you
both of you.
done
Let's
out
just
in
do
the
some
field?
introductions. Nummy Num. Brenda, Nummy Num. Hi.
Hi. So I'm just wondering what qualifications Martin has and what field research he's done.
Well, I haven't got no formal qualifications, but they're not really needed. But my work experience is working in the Navy, working in archaeology, stonemasonry on a building. So I got a feel for history and sort of thing. I spent loads of years traveling battle sites, cathedrals, castles, and the like. I mean, decades. I'm 50 now, so about 30 years of that. Backed up with about the last, say, 10 years leading up to the Flat Earth of intensive research on the same subject, leading up to the last 3 years of the Flat Earth Awakening, and the last 6 months of intensive research with a community of people on the same subject as myself, awake all night, 10 hours, maybe 12 a day of intensive research, cross-referencing original texts, manuscripts, maps, anything from the Middle Ages. Does that answer your question, Brenda?
No, because I don't know what you mean by intensive research. I'm just asking.
Martin,
You've got to get to a source with any subject.
You've got to let
He's
her
talking about
speak. Come on, Martin.
internal contradictions within what is.
I'm just asking. He says he does intensive research, and I'm asking what that is.
I think that, this argument would benefit from trying to argue one specific point rather than trying to
just exactly, yeah.
Awesome. Body of research at once. Why don't we discuss something specific, right? Because then it's manageable. Because you're asking, what are you even asking him? I mean, like it's not specific.
She's just having a go.
Martin,
I just want to know what research you've done.
Yeah, on what topic?
Name a subject.
Exactly. Like
all of them.
All of it.
Yeah.
No, not all
what
of
does
it.
That mean?
A specific thing.
Name a subject, and I'll tell you what I've researched.
Geology.
Yeah. Doing it now this week, and I've been working now for about a week. Solid with somebody. Geology, just that subject alone. Isn't that weird? You
So
should
what,
mention that.
what research have you done in
I'm not
geology?
going to discuss it with you on air because it's not your business and it's not
I'm
complete.
just curious.
Well, I bet you fucking are. I bet loads are, but they're not going to know until it's a
Oh,
completed
Martin,
work.
no
What's the
swearing,
point?
please.
Well, hey, Brenda, I made
Geologists aren't like that.
What do you mean
Geologists are lying
that's-
through their
That's
teeth.
irrelevant. What geologists are like. You cannot.
Well, that's
you
not what
cannot
science
generalize.
is like. You know,
You can't-
it's not like a secret.
No, you can't generalize any of this.
Yes, you can. Of
Geologists. No, you can't.
course you can.
Well, you can, but it's silly. It's
Another
not
one.
really.
No, it's not. That's how science is done.
What, by saying geologists aren't like that? You think that's how science is done?
No, science
No,
is
that's
done.
what I'm
It's
saying. I'm criticizing
collaborative.
the fact that you said geologists aren't like that, which is an empty statement. It means nothing. So don't bother with that. What I was bringing up earlier is, how is it that the Earth is said to be 99.5% magma over 1,000 degrees Celsius, and that there's this tiny thin layer peeled over the entire surface area that never reaches equilibrium with the heat in the core?
I know.
That makes no sense. So why don't you tell us about how that makes sense, Brenda? That makes sense.
How does it go into liquefaction and just all turn to the same?
Martin,
You know,
I'm going to mute you, mate. I'm sorry. I've got to do
all
it.
right.
No, I'm pointing out, I have a specific criticism of geology generally.
Oh,
and
what's that?
I just said it. I said the geologists claim that the Earth is 99.5% magma, red, molten rock and metal.
I'm not sure that that's true. I mean,
look it up right now. Go check for yourself.
The inner core is pretty solid.
Nope, they're saying 99.5%, and I want you to check that before we continue with this argument, okay? Because that's what they're saying, and I want to argue this argument clearly. Clearly, they're saying 99.5% of it is over the melting temperature of those substances, 1,200 degrees Celsius or something like that. So I'm saying, how is it that 0.5% of the rest of the mass doesn't reach equilibrium with 99.5% of it that's at that temperature? How does that make any sense whatsoever?
What do you mean doesn't reach?
Why doesn't the heat flow into the cooler matter that is in contact with it?
Well, the tectonic plates do subduct and get absorbed into the magma.
I'm not talking about subduction. I'm talking purely about heat, about the flow of heat. Why doesn't this molten ball of metal that's over 1,200 degrees Celsius and composes 99.5% of the mass heat up the tiny, thin 0.5% of the mass layer that's spread out over its entire surface area?
Well, so how long do you think it should take for the Earth to reach equilibrium?
I couldn't give an estimate, but I wouldn't imagine it could be more than a couple of years, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Based on what?
Well, okay, let's look at what they're saying about how it formed in the first place. They're saying that the outside cooled.
Well,
right?
they say that the Earth formed out of the accretion disk, right? The dust cloud.
Yeah, which there's no evidence to support that whatsoever. It's purely speculative, but yeah, that's not a fact. That's just an idea.
So the Earth formed out of a nebula of dust.
I don't think it did.
The same dust that the sun formed out of.
No. Let's argue about what we can agree on. Let's argue.
And then it, as it accumulated mass, heat and radioactivity keep the inner core of the Earth hot.
But what keeps the outer part cool?
It radiates heat out into space.
Into the vacuum of space, while a vacuum is the best insulator in the universe. The surface radiates all the heat from the core away from it. So why doesn't the layer of the crust that's touching the molten magma underneath become magma itself? What prevents that? What is the point where that cooler part's touching that molten part? What's stopping the heat from continuing to flow into that matter?
So going back, the Earth radiates heat out into space. It's radiative heat, not.
So you're talking about the
not
infrared heat.
Not kinetic or conductive heat.
Your
Do you know the
infrared
difference?
light. Yes, infrared light is what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's it radiates heat.
In the light spectrum, that's what you're talking about. So all the heat is escaping in the form of light.
That's it's radiative heat, yes.
Yeah, so all the
And
light
that's-
escapes in the form of light. That's what that means, radiative heat.
Yes.
Radiation means light.
Yes,
Yes.
I know. It's
So
a part
do you
of the
do you agree
electromagnetic
that
spectrum.
do you agree that heat flows to cool objects that are in contact with it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is preventing the 0.5? How do you think that this 0.5, this 99.5% of molten matter stays in contact with 0.5% and then has reached some sort of seeming equilibrium where that 0.5% doesn't reach equilibrium? Like whereas in the sense that this is a stable relationship where 0.5% of it doesn't reach equilibrium with the 99.5%.
Well, we're not at equilibrium. We eventually will be, but we're not. I mean, the tectonic plates are moving.
That's not what geologists
the
are saying.
magma,
They're saying that
the magma is moving.
Okay, well then you have your own theory that doesn't resemble the geology that I'm criticizing.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
The current geology says that the tectonic plates are moving.
I'm not talking about plate tectonics. I don't agree with plate tectonics. I'm talking about heat flow in matter. Has completely nothing to do with hypothetical plate tectonics that is not proven at all and is just
it's observed.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's inferred from observations. It's not observed directly.
No, it's not. It's measured directly.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Okay, what's your evidence? How is it measured directly?
I don't know how they measure it directly.
I don't know how they measure it directly, but you're very confident that they do it, right? Okay.
Yes.
Next. Yeah, that's why you're dodging this question, and I'm not talking about
dodging the question.
You absolutely are, because I'm not
you're
interested in plate tectonics.
You're what's called
gish galloping. I'm trying to keep this thing. No, how am I gish galloping? By trying to keep this thing on the topic of what I brought up, which is that the Earth is said to be 99.5% magma, and that 0.5% of it spread over the surface area of that 99.5% somehow, even though despite being in contact with it, doesn't reach equilibrium with it, and that's gish galloping. And you want to bring up plate tectonics, which is a unproven hypothesis, has nothing to do with what I'm saying. You're gish galloping.
No, you don't know what the word means.
Okay, what does it mean?
Here we go.
It means to inundate your opponent with a large number of unsupported claims.
I've made one claim. One.
You've made several.
What are they?
One is that tectonic plates is.
No, you brought that up, and that was the gish galloping.
Another one is that the Earth is only a couple hundred years old. You said.
I never said that.
Or 2,000 years, a few thousand years old.
Just lying. Can you just moderate a little bit? Because
I was going to say,
the point?
Well, you need to go one at a time, because otherwise you can't hear what each of you are saying. Sorry, that's the only moderation I'm going to give.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm going to just say that I want to only focus on this one topic about how it is that the Earth is 99.5% magma and the other 0.5% doesn't reach equilibrium with it. Then you brought up plate tectonics as if that had something to do with it. When I said you're not able to explain the direct evidence of plate tectonics, but you say I'm gish galloping, even though you brought up that subject. And then you're saying that I claim the Earth was a couple of hundred years old, and I never mentioned anything about the age of the Earth. So you just made that up. You made that up out of nothing.
So your question.
Can you acknowledge that you made that up about the Earth being a couple hundred years old?
So the question is, why isn't the Earth in thermodynamic equilibrium? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my question to you is, what have you done to show that it ought to be by now in thermodynamic equilibrium?
Well, according to the laws of thermodynamics, it shouldn't have. Yes, I can. You didn't let me. I just said it contradicts the laws of thermodynamics. You can read those out if you want.
No, it
and-
doesn't.
No, and why are you lying and saying I said the Earth was a couple hundred years old? I want to know that.
Maybe I misheard you. Maybe it was Martin who said it was only a few hundred years old. You said something about a
I think
couple
it's
hundred
only,
years.
I think it's only 2000. I think
No,
it's
I
only
didn't.
2017 years old.
You
Never
said that-
anything about it.
You said that the Earth should have cooled off within a couple hundred years.
I said it should have reached equilibrium.
In a couple hundred years, right?
Yeah, but then you said that I said it was a couple hundred years old.
Is my mic working properly, Nathan?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, if I may, I'd just
it
like
left,
to make a
please?
quick
Okay.
introduction.
Two
Sorry
systems.
to interrupt, Brenda.
So-
and sorry.
Listen,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Nummy. I just want to make a quick introduction. So, Adam, who we've got? We've got Martin, Nummy, and Brenda. Brenda, Martin, Nummy, Adam.
So I answered Numby Num's question, which is that there has not been enough time for the Earth to come to thermodynamic equilibrium since its
Okay.
creation.
can you explain?
Sorry,
How
I
you
really
reached that
got to do
conclusion?
this just because it's rude. Please, just at least give him the opportunity to say hello. I know you're really in the thick of a debate.
Oh, I'm
but
sorry. I thought he did.
Sure. Hi, Adam. How you doing? Beautiful timing. Just give him a second. He will unmute, I hope. God, I hope. Now, just give him that little tirade.
Are you really a tranny, Brenda?
Yes. This
You
is
are?
changing the subject. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's changing the subject, but who really cares? The subject always changes. But what are your thoughts on the transgender agenda? Have you heard of that?
Not really flat Earth
You mean
related.
the transgender agenda to convert little boys into little girls and turn them all into
And vice
communists?
versa?
I'm
vice versa,
working.
yeah.
I'm working very hard to turn all little boys into little communist girls. Yes.
No, I'm not saying that, but like, are you all for the binary, non-binary, whatever?
Yeah,
all that?
I'm for. I think all men should be exterminated, and all little boys
no,
turned into
truthfully-
little girls
Hold on,
and
Adam.
little communist boys and girls.
I'm trying to be truthful. I'm trying to have a conversation with you about it.
Yeah,
because,
well,
like, you're
I'm
trans-
simply not going to respond
It's not-
well to
Well,
your.
We're
Yeah,
talking.
Adam,
Listen, we're here
sorry.
to talk about flat Earth related subjects,
Exactly.
not
This is not
fucking gender politics.
not flat
bullshit.
Earth related
Come on.
at all. Totally personal against an individual on the panel, Adam. There's really
No,
no need.
it's not personal attack or anything like that, because this
You're
is
off
like,
topic.
It's
She's
totally
a
off topic.
transgender, and I'm curious about
cares?
if
You're
like,
off
if
topic.
they-
There's
or
the only
what beliefs they
transgender
hold on that
agenda.
topic.
The
You're
only
off
transgender.
topic.
The only transgender agenda is general acceptance by a society and recognition of civil rights for trans, and of course also gays and lesbians and everybody else.
I agree 100% with you on that, and I don't think that this is the appropriate place to discuss any of this, anyways.
Not
So if
at
you come
all.
on here, you want to attack somebody's gender identity. What are you doing here?
Oh, shut up! Stop being a fuckwit. Shut up.
Who's being a
Seriously,
fuckwit?
this isn't the place for it. Where's the place for it then? All right, where else am I
Not
gonna fucking
here.
find a
Just
tranny
not here,
that I
Adam.
can ask? Where else am I going to find a tranny that I can ask about it?
Well, you can
Go outside your house.
you can privately
Leave your
message
house
her.
for 5 minutes.
Adam, you can privately message her.
There's a tranny
there's,
here on this show right now, and I'm curious as to know their fucking stance on the transgender, whatever it may
We're,
be.
we're here to have a flat Earth
Please.
discussion,
Adam, sorry,
You-
Nummy.
Oh,
the
fucking
wrong
flat
room.
Earth, flat Earth. The fucking, I've heard the same dribble for fucking.
Adam,
5
please
well,
don't
then
swear.
go somewhere
right?
else.
Adam, this
Right.
They
is
want to talk about this because we
Nummy,
don't want to
please,
talk
can I
about
just
this
check
stupid
him?
topic.
Just let
you
me
don't
check
wanna
him
talk
just
about it, you
once.
dumbass.
No,
Sorry.
none of these people. Nathan, do you want to talk about gender politics?
Not at all. I just want to check, Adam. Please don't swear. Adam, you're welcome, but just don't swear. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, well, far out, mate. Sometimes fucking flat Earth isn't the only topic, you know? People are interested in other
can't
things
help
as well.
Right.
I've got a
I'm
tranny
asking
here, so I can
politely.
ask
This is
about their
Adam.
opinion
This is
on
Adam.
things.
He
Like,
can't help it.
it'd be good to
Yes,
get
Adam
like,
is
you know,
retarded.
a first-hand
That's the problem.
account of what their beliefs are and what this transgender, non-binary, binary situation is.
What the fuck
I've got
do you
somebody here
care
that can
about
tell
what
me
somebody's
their
gender
opinion on it.
identity is? What the fuck
Gender
does it have to
identity,
do
there
with you? Why don't you just get? What are you talking about? Mind your own
Are
business.
you a tranny too?
This
I'm
is
not a
not needed.
tranny. I
He's
don't.
obviously a mole. Come on, get with it.
Adam, Adam, we've
No,
asked you.
I'm
We've
here
asked
to
you
discuss
nicely.
a topic. I'm
Is
not
that a
here to
poll?
discuss gender fucking politics.
We've asked you
Well,
nicely.
Well, gender
You've triggered a
politics
few
is a
people,
topic, isn't
Adam.
it?
I don't want to have to boot you, but this isn't the platform to talk about transgender issues. Please, if I know you don't want, if you don't want to talk about flat Earth, then fine. I'll have to boot you because that's what this is about.
It's about everything, Nathan. Everything leads to everything. You should know that by now.
Perfect.
No, it doesn't.
Perfect. Hold on, Nami. Hold on. If you can link transgender to flat Earth, I'm more than happy to hear it.
Well, we're talking about propaganda, aren't we? We're talking about the propaganda that the mainstream media has perpetrated on this ball Earth on us, and they're also perpetrating things like transgenderism. There are a lot of other things that come along with like with the propaganda that we've got to deal with. It's not only ball Earth rhetoric.
I don't see how that links flat Earth with transgenderism, other than
Because it's propaganda.
You realize that this has been around
Propaganda. They're both propaganda, right? So you're agreeing that when they show an image of the ball Earth, just wait. You're agreeing that when they show an image of the ball Earth, that's propaganda, yeah?
Yeah.
So is it propaganda when they start promoting transgenderism?
Perhaps.
Oh, so there we go. There's a relation. They're both propaganda.
Yeah. Well, it's also propaganda when they try to tell you to buy Cheerios on television. So who cares? Everything's propaganda when it's promoting an idea.
That's not propaganda.
Everything
that's
promoting an
ads.
idea is linked to flat Earth. Anyone who's
there's a
promoting
difference between
anything
sales and propaganda
is connected to
There's a
flat
difference
Earth.
There's a difference between marketing and propaganda. All right, if they're
There
marketing
isn't, actually.
these cheesels, if they're marketing these cheesels and you're dumb enough to fall for their marketing, then that's your own fault. All right, propaganda is a lot different than fucking marketing.
Not really.
Adam, I don't want to have to boot you. Second time I'm warning you. Third time I'll just kick you. Please don't swear.
Oh, come on, Nathan. It slips, mate. I'm an Aussie. There's nothing I can do. It's second language.
Just try, please.
I'm not as posh as you, Nathan. You know what I mean? I don't have my silver spoon.
Oh, God. But we're here to talk about flat Earth.
Tell me about flat Earth, then. Tell me about flat Earth.
The Earth is round.
But we were in the
Round
middle
as a
of it.
ball.
Oh,
You're in the
God,
middle
okay.
of nothing. That's over with now. So you can tell me about flat Earth. Tell me your proof that the
No,
Earth's
I was
flat.
in the middle of having a discussion about something particular when you just came in and with your whatever.
Oh, blah blah blah. Okay, I'm asking you a question. What are your proof that the Earth is flat? What are your evidences?
Good question.
Yeah.
The evidence that the Earth is flat?
Yeah, it's good.
Evidence or proof? Proof is to compel the mind to assert something is true, or do you have actual evidence?
Yeah, there's lots of evidence.
Well, what evidence? Show me some.
Well, I'm
evidence.
just trying to think of where would be a good place to begin. So you're not a flat earther.
I'm a realist. I was a flat earther long the time you even got onto the subject, but I'm just going to play unbiasedness here.
So I'm just interested to know what your current perspective on the topic is, because it would help me in where I might
For all
begin.
I know, we're in a computer simulation. For all I know.
See, I'm not really interested in having this kind of conversation, really, because it's like.
So you ask my stance, I tell you my stance. You ask my stance, I tell you my stance, and then you go off into a tangent and say you're not interested in discussing the topic when I ask you for your evidence or your proof, either one, proof or evidence that the Earth is flat. Either one.
Seems like a valid question.
If you have proof, that means that you have arguments that can compel me to assert that is true. All right. If you have evidence, show me the evidence.
Okay.
If you have arguments that you would like to present, then I'm willing to listen.
Seems
Please,
reasonable. Seems
Okay,
reasonable.
well, can you, Adam, can you now mute and just, take a breath, let him gather his thoughts and answer you without interruption?
Okay, well, I would say that you could begin with, I think that the beginning of this topic can we prove that the Earth is rotating, right? I mean, that's one important part of the argument about a flat stationary Earth, which is what I believe. And, the evidence is that flights, regardless.
I have to interject there. I didn't ask you if it was stationary or moving. I asked you for the proofs or evidence of it being flat. I don't care if it's moving or that we'll go to that's another topic, you know.
Come on, you can concede,
tangent.
Adam, that it's
That's an
more
offshoot.
than just a one breath answer.
Oh well, I had to interject there when he's like, you know, that's
Don't.
derailing from what I actually asked.
Well, you don't. He might
I'm
get
asking
to it.
about
It might
flatness.
take him.
Is it
Adam-
flat? And if it's flat,
Yeah,
show me the
I'm just
proof or
not.
evidence.
I don't want to have this kind of conversation with somebody who's not really interested in the topic. Like, because why would he want to claim that I'm derailing when I'm just trying to preface what I'm going to say with some supporting other evidence that starts at the beginning, you know, like this is not a sincere conversation you're trying to have with me, and you're showing that. So why would I want to talk to someone who's not interested in sincerely communicating anything?
With the amount of time that you just spent rambling on with that non-coherent nonsense, you could have given me an answer.
But he's saying he doesn't want to, based on how you're behaving, Adam. And frankly, I agree. You know, I don't feel like answering you. You know, it's just you're being very aggressive. And
you're a moderator. Moderate and be unbiased, Nathan. Be a moderator and be unbiased.
Yeah, I am. I'm saying you're being very aggressive.
People are going to come on, Nathan. Listen. People are going to come on here and be aggressive towards one another. Yeah, you're a moderator. That. Moderate it properly. Don't just side with one person. I've asked him questions that he's derailed away from answering.
Okay,
all right,
good,
so be unbiased. Good. Yes, you might need to speak to me, but you also need to address him in the way that he isn't addressing the issue. He isn't addressing the question.
I didn't finish.
Number one, he was halfway through it. He literally hadn't finished his breath. He was in the first sentence and you interrupted and said, I have to interject. But there's no need to interject. There's no time restraint. You can let him finish his point, even if it takes 5 minutes. But if you're saying you can't give him that 5 minutes, hold on, just let me get my point out. Adam, just let me get my point out, please. I beg of you. If you're like now, next time you ask me anything, I'll think, why bother answering? Because I won't even get to the end of my point before you interrupt. It makes me not want to answer, and that's kind of what he's saying. Doesn't make you want to answer.
If I asked him if the Earth was moving or if it was stationary, then his answer would have been relevant. But I didn't. I asked what his proof or evidence was that the Earth is flat. Nothing about moving or stationary. Nothing about that. Come on, you got to be unbiased, Nathan, and realize what question I asked and what answer he was giving.
Well, I made it pretty clear that I was prefacing what I was going to say about it being flat with another point that was relevant to that, but you didn't let me finish it. But you know what? I'm not interested in talking to you because I think that you have no manners and that you're not genuinely interested.
Well, you're gonna stumble across people that have no manners.
You're right, and I'm not going to talk to them because I don't like it. And I don't have to. So.
Oh, I don't like it. It's not politically correct.
Well, I think that you're very emotionally driven, and you're kind of unhinged. So I don't.
I'm emotionally driven. You're the one that's getting offended because I don't want you to go off in a tangent. I'm trying to get you to directly answer a question, and you're getting emotional.
I'm not offended. I just don't want to talk to you because I think that you're ungenuine and insincere. Yeah. Okay.
I'll put the shoe on your foot. You're saying I should be more heavy in terms of my moderation of this chat. Well, you're in it and you're the one being aggressive. So how would you deal with you, Adam, if the shoe was on the other foot?
Well, I would ask me, like you've done, is to not swear, and then I stop swearing, and then I'd ask the person that I was speaking to address the actual question that I answered, and then tell me to shut up, so then he can actually answer the question that I asked.
Fine, but that's exactly what I did do. I said, can you shut up while he answers?
You didn't tell him to not go off into a tangent. You didn't stop him.
So you have to have every little bit of manners and etiquette explained to you.
As a moderator,
you're not mature enough to
listen to the question yourself. And if you hear the person
stray off into a tangent, you need to learn how to act like a grown up.
Answer the actual question.
No, you need to act.
Of a debate.
You need to learn some respect and to act like a grown-up, and then you'll be worthy of talking to. But I'm not going to talk to you or answer your questions because I don't think it's worth my time and energy because I don't think you're sincere. I think you're here to badger someone about their
sincere or not. It doesn't matter if I'm
it doesn't matter. It matters.
The audience is listening.
I don't care.
They all ask the same question. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are asking the same question that I just asked you. And
you're just saying it doesn't matter if I'm sincere or not.
Sincere or not, is you're not going to answer the question. The same
I'm not
question
going
is
to
being
answer it if
asked
you're
of you.
not sincere, and you're basically right now admitting that you're not sincere. So I'm really not going to answer you.
No, I'm not admitting anything to you. I'm saying that your thoughts on me being sincere or not is irrelevant to you answering the question when other people
No, it
are
isn't.
asking the same question.
It's absolutely not irrelevant, because
You know, you're
I'm
not
not
just
going to
talking to
answer
me,
you
you're
if you're
talking to an
insincere.
audience.
So it's
You know that
relevant
there's-
to me answering. If I think you're sincere, I'll answer. If I don't, I won't. So it's very relevant.
You're talking to an
But
audience.
I think you're here to
Not only
badger
just
someone
me.
about their gender identity, and I don't.
I didn't badger. See, that's where you're trying to go off again and say that I badgered Brenda.
All you're
I
doing
tried
is
to ask
badgering
Brenda,
people.
Brenda's point of view,
No,
being
all
a
you're doing.
transgender. I tried to ask Brenda, being a transgender, what their point of view was on this transgender agenda that is being promoted, and if they agree with like some of the concepts that are being pushed across.
You're off topic.
And then I went and then gave you a question, and then you still couldn't answer it because apparently I'm not sincere enough for you.
Well, I tried to answer it, and then you showed me that it's not worth
went off into a tangent and started talking about whether it's
okay.
whether the Earth is moving.
I'm just gonna
or
let
if
you
it's-
whine until you're done, and then we'll move on, I guess, or something. I don't know, whatever. I'm not interested in talking to Adam. I'm not answering his questions. I think.
All right, mute yourself then. Mute yourself then. You like the sound of your own voice. Mute yourself. You said that you're not going to let me fucking go on and rant. So please mute yourself then. No, I don't see you muting yourself. See, you fucking love the sound of your own voice. Brenda, now the topic is mine. Now I can decide what the topic is. Can
No,
you
you
answer
can't.
any questions that I've asked about that?
Can't. I don't want to hear about
I'm
her
very
being
interested.
transgender. That's not
I'm
why
very
she's
interested.
here. That's not why I'm here. That's not why anyone's watching. That's not the purpose of the show.
What's the purpose of the show then, Nathan?
It's in
To talk
clues
about
in-
just simply flat Earth. Simply flat Earth.
Correct. The clue is in the title. Flat
Well,
Earth
bringing the
debate.
ball Earth into it isn't talking about the flat Earth, is it?
Pardon? Say again?
Bringing the ball Earth into it isn't talking about the flat Earth.
I'm really sorry. Can you repeat it one more time?
Bringing the ball Earth into it isn't really talking about the flat Earth, is it now?
Absolutely. It's the contrary argument to flat Earth.
Well, there's plenty of contrary arguments. There's a simulation theory. There's the concave theory. There's the hollow Earth theory. There's like plenty of other theories that come along and would be contrary to flat Earth.
All are welcome.
There's we're all living on a transgender. Why
That's
isn't
not
that a
an
theory?
alt. You can't. You've tried already to convince me that transgender is an alternative cosmology. You failed. It's not.
Well, apparently the Baphomet is transgender, right?
Now are you getting closer to a link to maybe something to do with flat Earth?
I see. Well, there we go. The Baphomet is resembles what would be a transgender, and apparently the Baphomet is the evil in this world that is perpetrating the lies and deceit. So if that's the case, then the Baphomet would be pushing the ball Earth, which means that transgenderism is pushing the ballism, and flat Earth is the truth. Is that correct?
If you say so, if you want to put that across, you're
Well,
here for
I'm
your
trying-
truth, Adam.
I
You
don't
say what
think
you
that
want, mate.
There's no unifying ideology that brings together transgenders. There are plenty of trans people that I know of who are very much on the right, and others who are very much on the left, and many others who are pretty much in the center politically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is what I'd
I've
like
met
to have
transgenders
discussions
who
with.
were very right wing, and I don't understand them, but they exist. The only thing that unites any of us is the fact that we're transgender.
And what are your thoughts on the gender identity?
I think that people should have access to proper medical care to deal with gender issues that they have, and that people who have gender issues should be allowed to transition to
Gender
the preferred,
dysphoria?
right, whatever you want to call it, should be allowed to transition to their preferred gender, and that they should be afforded civil rights, they should be seen equally before the law. They should be recognized for who they are.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree
and
with that.
things like that. Those are the rights. They should not be harassed or assaulted
But
or
but if
otherwise
I say
discriminated
yourself,
against.
like, were you born a man or a woman?
I was born a male, yes.
So if I was to meet you meet you in real life and then say, "How you going, mate?" Would that offend you? Would that be discriminating against you?
My understanding is that mate is non-gendered. It's used for both, to refer to both.
Oh well, if I
men
was to
and
refer to you as a male, would that?
then I would probably be offended. Yes.
What
That's
about
where
the
the
people
problem
that,
comes
like,
in.
what about the ones that aren't actually, I wouldn't say transgender, that haven't, like, what is it, like, they haven't fully gone over to whatever sex it is.
Transition. They haven't fully
Transitioned, yeah, they haven't fully
well,
transitioned.
generally
So,
people.
and they still, like, a male that identifies as a female but still has all male characteristics. If I go up to that person and then like refer to them as a male, and they think that I'm offended, like, I don't. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Like,
No,
how
they
can
would.
I be offending
So
somebody?
I've been in that situation many, many times, and what
Yep.
I say is, I would prefer that you refer to me as she, and females to males would say, I prefer that you use, male pronouns. That's what would happen typically. They would ask that you
So,
respect their wishes and use the pronouns that they wish to be associated with.
all right, and that's the one thing there that I would I'd argue for and against is I'd say, like, the initial encounter between a transitioning or a transgender, or whatever it is, a person that identifies as another thing, if they're referred to as the wrong, whatever it is, whatever gender or whatever identity, if they're referred to as the wrong identity in the initial encounter, that shouldn't be offensive. All right, it should be from then on to the point of the person that wants to identify themselves as something else to then say, no, I would like to be referred to as such and such. And then if it continues that the person then does not, give them the civil rights that they deserve, then I find that offensive. But the initial encounter, I don't see, and that's what I found when I'm looking into the mainstream media, is they're saying that if I don't predict what this person refers to themselves as, then I am discriminatory.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I don't agree with you that is what is in the media.
Of course you don't.
Well, that's
I think that when people when these issues come up in the media, it's people who already know full well that the person prefers to be addressed as their desired gender or target gender or whatever, and the other person is doing it to be a dick.
Well, like now, if I was to sit there and call you he after you've told me that you would like to be called a she, then I'm being a dick. But in an initial encounter, if people are calling you he, until you address it and say that, you shouldn't be offended. You know what I mean? That's what my take is on this. You shouldn't be offended.
So, to my best understanding, a man is a man, and that means basically on the chromosomal level, usually. So there's hermaphrodites and females. So I think it's actually offensive that people demand to be respected as a different gender when really, colloquial speaking, we're basically just judge, you're a male or you're a female. And it's a weird position to put people in. Hey, I feel like a female, or I'm a female now, or whatever. Like, for me to have to call you a female is just that's kind of rude, actually, to me.
Are you offended that you're required to call your mom she?
No, because she's a female.
But you're required to call her she.
I'm not required to do anything.
I'm not required to. Yeah, I'm not required to call her anything.
You called
except
your
for
mom.
maybe mom.
You referred to your mom as he consistently. She'd get offended and mad at you.
Yeah, because she's a female. She understands that.
So you're not offended that you're required to call your mother she, but you are offended that you're required to call.
Who is requiring me to do anything, though?
Society does.
So would I be put in jail, you're saying, if I called my mom a he?
Well, you're not going to be. No, you're not going to be, and you're not going to be put in jail for calling me he. Nobody's going to put
not
you in
yet.
jail.
Not
No,
yet,
but
but
it's
isn't there
pushing-
some
So-
states
I'm
in
just-
America
sorry-
that are pushing
sorry,
that?
guys,
that
to
if-
interrupt.
No, there isn't. No,
Sorry
there
to
isn't.
interrupt. Just want to ask. I mean, are you? You're not here to talk about this, Brenda. Are you happy talking about this? Because I'm more than happy to draw this conversation to a close right now.
If I don't know, I feel ambivalent about it. I thought we were talking about flat Earth.
Me too. I mean, no disrespect, Adam. I've given you plenty of time to discuss this subject.
yeah.
I know you've probably got 101 more questions, but with all due respect, this just isn't the place. I hope we've given you enough time to satisfy you for at least the rest of the time that you're here. But from this point, I'm just going to have to draw a close to this conversation. This isn't the place. I'm really sorry if you feel hard done by, but tough.
No, that's all good. At least you gave me the time to ask, and at least Brenda, thank you for giving me the time to answer. You know, like I said, you're one transgender that I can actually talk to, so and find the opinions of. So thank you for taking the time to speak to me about it. But yeah, close the topic and we'll change it.
Yeah, massive thank you, Brenda, for discussing that subject.
can't
You were
imagine
not
that we're so
expecting that, so
terribly rare.
thank you.
Yeah, it's like 0.01%, 001 or something.
Okay, I suppose.
Yeah, I personally
pretty
don't know
rare.
any other transgenders.
Yeah, brilliant. Glad we can wrap it up.
I know people that are homosexual, but I don't know any transgenders.
Anyway,
Okay.
so unless you're going to now try and associate homosexuality with flat Earth, which I'm pretty much certain you're not going to be able to do that
Well,
either.
I tried to link. I
gays
tried to link the transgender with the Baphomet. What are your thoughts on the Baphomet, then, Nathan?
God, what's on the Baphomet?
No,
Wrong person to ask. It's kind of like asking me, truthfully. I'm like, eh. What are your thoughts on the Baphomet, Adam?
I think it's just symbolism. I think it's. I think it's the Bible was written by a man, and
Oh, you've muted. Adam, we've lost you.
As far as these pagan symbolism, that was that's also pretty much invented by people. Aleister
I personally think
Crowley
that
is pretty central to it, isn't he? I mean, this is 1800 stuff. It's like, I don't know, not very interesting.
Do you think that we have it all figured out, Brenda, today?
No, I don't. No, I don't think we have it all figured out. I don't know what you mean by that, though.
Well, you're kind of like, oh, the 1800s. I mean, do you think that they were like super archaic or something?
I don't understand. The Baphomet dates back to about, what is the Wikipedia page says 1897. It was created.
so it's a man-made concept.
Well, of course it is, just like everything else. The man made devil in the image of his shadow, and he made God in the image of his better side. The religion is just a projection of human frailty and human hopes onto the world, and we invest our gods with our better side and our demons with our worst sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. What are your thoughts on the Bible, Nathan?
She's an
Do you think
atheist.
that it has any...
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Nathan?
Yes.
Nathan, what are your thoughts on the Bible and its relation to flat Earth?
I'm pretty sure I could say this without fear of any ridicule that the Bible's a flat Earth book.
But was it written by? Was it written in God's word? Was there a higher power that was behind the writing of the book?
I don't mind giving my opinion on this. No, I don't think so.
There are a lot of theologians who would argue that the flat Earth is not biblical. And I don't know those arguments. I'm not familiar with those people, but quite a few, even fundamentalists, would say no, the Bible does not declare that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, my
That's
uncle
Well, it
is
does
one of
read
them.
that.
Misreading.
My
It
uncle's
does
one.
declare
So
that there is a firmament, and the firmament is referred to as a solid dome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's a translation of a translation of a translation, basically. I mean, what is it?
But it's still conceived as a solid dome. So, like, you know, the firmament is referred to as some type of a barrier that separates the waters above from the waters below. And in a dome type of a reference too.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
what is to say that, like, of course their beliefs of the time would go into the Bible. You know, that's kind of part of why I think being a Bible literalist is kind of a joke, because I mean, there's a lot of things that are very not supposed to be taken literally, I guess you could say. They're parables. So, what were you gonna say, Brenda?
I forgot.
That's what I do.
I remember. You know, I'm an atheist, and I enjoy debating religion as well. But you know, I don't really have a problem with theologians or people who are religious who don't push. You know, if they just want to debate issues, I mean, that's, you know, without getting all emotional about it. That's what I prefer. Um, you know, and if a theologian or a believer wishes to interpret certain parts of the Bible as metaphor and certain parts as literally true, I guess that's not a big deal for me or not. Because I was raised pretty liberal Lutheran. I mean, we don't get much more liberal than Lutheran Minnesotan. We'd have lemon bars in the church basement and coffee afterwards.
Ugh.
It
Oh yeah.
was very Minnesotan, very Lutheran, you know. That was my upbringing. So you know, if I just enjoy debating things with people, and that's what I kind of look for. And
You
So,
like to be right. That's what you've said before.
so Brenda, can I ask
Did
you
it?
what proof you have that the Earth is a ball?
Well,
What
Or
evidence?
even you, Tim.
what good evidence that we have that the Earth is a ball? Well,
Proofs
there's
or evidence?
curvature. There's
You can-
curvature. There's demonstrated curvature.
Well,
There's
can you show me that? Can you show me that? Or is that something that I'm going to have to go find for myself?
um.
Well,
we-
how
Can
much
you
do you
show me-
want to be spoon fed here, Adam? How much?
hold on. Just
Well,
let
I'm
Brenda,
just asking: is there
just
actual
ask-
like
let
the-
Brenda
is
answer.
there
Come on.
video or photography evidence for this, or is this just measurable? Like by
Well,
do I
you
have to
can,
go out into measurements?
if you use this proper surveying equipment, right, you can measure the curvature.
You're not answering his question. Soundly, you can go to Soundly's page,
You had 5 seconds. Just let
find
her
raw
finish.
videos. You can go to
Just
Alk. Well, I'm answering. He's asking a question. She's not answering it. Go ahead, Brenda.
Go ahead, Tim. You have a better command of that than
So
I do.
so there is
Well,
actual.
that's kind of what. Yeah. Go ahead.
You're saying there is actual like video or photography that proves this.
Yeah.
There's evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's evidence. Yeah, so that you're not just providing proofs to me. You're providing what you would call evidence, and you're saying go to this Soundly page or channel, and their video will show me curvature, or will it just be mathematics that are described to me and like
It will demonstrate curvature.
demonstrate?
Okay,
Well,
so it's actually video of you being able to see the effects of curvature, either it be obstruction due to curvature, or basically the force align experiment that you can go and look at, where you see towers that are level with the water all throughout, but there's a mysterious curve going on there. So there's tons of video evidence. Al K is another one that's been on Jed Skeptic Media. If you want to go look at the evidence, he's doing it in Scotland. The other dude, Soundly, he's doing it in New Orleans, I think, around there. So basically, there is evidence out there, Adam, and really, I've yet to find any evidence that there's zero curvature from long distance photography for the flat Earth.
Well, really, in the concept of the ball and we being a minute little dot on this huge ball, we shouldn't be able to see curvature at all, should we? Like it should be measurable.
Usually,
but we should be able
yes.
to see.
Usually, we can see the effects of curvature would be obstruction due to curvature. Say something looking at a mountain from 30 or 50, 100 miles away, And also that's why that experiment's very important, is that it's looking over water, but the water is level with these basically power lines that show that there's a curvature. So it's a guide.
I've seen that video that you're referring to, and those power
Yeah.
lines aren't completely straight. They're actually curved. And aren't you referring to, like, couldn't that also be explained through perspective and the vanishing point?
No. And they are curving, but they're not curving in the manner that you're thinking. Like, they're completely level with the water, and they're the same towers all throughout. So when you make an observation, it looks like there's curvature. I'm just saying it's evidence for curvature.
When you say that towers
are describing the vanishing point in perspective, you know, like my eye's only limited, and when the further I view out, the smaller an object's going to be away from me, and then obstruction due to the vanishing point, atmospheric conditions, and the horizon. Like, wouldn't these things be a factor? Or, like, you seem to be dismissing these things that have been described in flat Earth, like, you know, these are what flat earthers would say are proofs against that, like the atmospheric conditions and the vanishing point and the horizon line.
Yeah, so that's just what they would say as a Gish Gallop tactic, basically. And I guess the horizon isn't really being observed in this observation when you're looking at those power lines. You're actually looking at the power lines over the water. And so that doesn't come into play. And then atmospheric conditions, so it's done on different days. The atmospheric condition index is known to be no more than 12 or 17%. So yeah, I mean, you guys can attribute just these known things to explain why there's curvature on it right in front of your face, but there's no way to demonstrate it, though.
I wouldn't say curvature. I'd say that there's an explanation as to why these things seem to vanish. These things seem to only show a certain area, or, like, you know, like the bottom half of the mountains so-called vanish or disappear, and you're saying it's because of the curvature, but there is explanations other than that, you know, it's atmospheric conditions over a distance, convergence, vanishing point, you know, on the horizon.
Yeah, it's just line. whatever can be thrown into that, and like I was saying, it's not demonstratable. You're not able to justify that in any way. So you're basically denying the evidence and saying, well, it's atmospheric conditions, though you haven't looked into what kind of atmospheric conditions were there. So, I mean, this is the point of doing multiple observations during different types of atmospheric conditions, so that you can get a better reading on what you're actually seeing. But as far as convergence and perspective and all these different things, well, you can think about the railroad track going off in the distance. It gets smaller horizontally as well as vertically as it goes off into the distance. And we never experience any kind of obstruction due to curvature in that manner. So it's just kind of throwing things into place, basically.
Right, I'm really sorry to interrupt, guys. Sorry, Adam. Just wait 1 second. Sorry, Adam. I will let you get back to this, but if I can just make a quick introduction. So we've been joined by Red October and Validation Boy. So Validation Boy, Tim Osman, Martin, Brenda, and Adam. I'm not going to go back through that list, but thank you for being here, Validation Boy and Red October. Hopefully, if you can go first, Red October, Validation Boy, you've unmuted. Either or.
Yeah, I got a problem with the fact that we're allowing somebody who used child pornography 7 months ago to bomb one of my Hangouts, Nathan. Not that I'm mad at you for it, because you might not know about it, but this was absolutely verified for a fact. And if there's a problem, we can call the FBI, Tammy, and we can see who's telling the truth right now. So what you gonna do next, buddy? You use child pornography. You're a sick, perverted criminal, and you have no business being on here.
What evidence do you have of that?
Let's call the FBI. Let's report it then. Let's report this. If I'm wrong,
why are
I'm
you doing this almost a year afterwards?
Let's go.
Let's go. 8 months now?
Because you continue to show up.
Hold on.
Then that's the
You say you have evidence.
Exactly.
You say you have evidence against a slanderous claim.
You've used child pornography multiple times.
I'm not going to let you get me triggered, dude.
You can't do a damn thing, bitch. You have been caught. I'll call the FBI
All right,
if
well,
I'm wrong and
report
do
that.
something about it, Timmy.
No, report
You
that.
use child pornography. You have it on your computer. You've done it multiple times.
Nate,
I'm
this
sorry
is
to
slander.
hurt this
This
hangout,
is
Nate.
pure
But yeah, then
slander.
do something about it. Call the
Right.
police.
Mute.
Call the
I've got
police.
No evidence of
Pillbox,
this.
I'm
This is
sorry,
Call the
just
police. Yeah.
hearsay.
What you are a
So-
literal pedophile as far as I'm concerned. Call the police. Do something about it. You use child pornography, Tim. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Pillbox, you've come in and just said
Yeah, nobody
multiple
forced him to
times-
do that, Nathan. Call the
Doesn't-
police, Timmy. Let's go. Do something about it. Now what?
Right, okay.
You're the one with the claim and the evidence. Go ahead and bring that to the authorities.
Yeah, let's
Please
go. Do something about it. If it's a false claim, I'm committing a crime. Do something about it. Take your time. That's what I thought. Yeah. Anyway, you're a pedophile. You've proven it. Thanks for playing. And I'm sorry that you can't even call the police and report this right now because you know it's true. So thanks again, Timmy.
You done?
Isn't that amazing? So the guy who uses child pornography, of course, is the one who's going to tell us that the coffee straw Earth is what we should believe in. So apparently it curves forward, but left to right it's still straight. I mean, who is going to listen to this people? I mean, have we gone insane, Nathan, to let somebody this perverted on our Hangouts? Not that I'm mad at you, Nathan, but this is a fact. If anything I'm saying is wrong, let's call the police and get this straightened out.
I mean, you've said it about 5 times, Pillbox, but you've not presented anything other than your word.
Yes,
So-
the Hangout had to be deleted because we were flagged, Nathan. We were flagged for it when he did it. We almost lost our flat out elected station because of him.
What was the date of that video?
7 months ago. Let's figure it out. If I'm wrong, then call the police. Then I'm committing a crime. You're
What
a
was the
pedophile,
date?
Timmy. So do something about it. Then call the police.
No,
Then
what
do
was the
so.
date?
I'm sorry, I don't have all the
Hold on,
details. The
Pillbox,
Hangout was
Pillbox.
deleted. So again, you use
Pillbox.
child pornography.
Right, I'm going to have to mute you again. Right. You're going to have to
Jason
take...
Carl's Hornsberry used child pornography on a Hangout. Fact.
Wow.
Right. You're just going to have to present your evidence. This is Flat Earth related. You have
No, absolutely. The Hangout was taken down,
hold
Nathan.
on.
So if I'm doing something wrong, we got to call the police. In
Well,
fact,
you-
I think I'll call the police on a live hang.
You just triggered, and you just keep repeating the same thing again.
Right. No. Okay. Tomorrow, Nathan, I'll call the police on a live hangout, and I'll report it to the police tomorrow on a live hangout.
Yeah,
Why don't you do it now?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly
Well,
that. You
I'm
took the
not.
words out of my mouth.
Let's go then. Okay. Call the police right now.
You're
let's
welcome
go.
to.
I'm not involved in it. I'm a spectator.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm
I mean,
saying, like,
who's going to call the police? Either I'm committing a crime or he's a pedophile. So let's go.
This doesn't even make
Let's
sense.
go. Let's do something about it. The internet can't be deleted. That information
Okay.
can be found. They can't investigate and pull that. They can pull that video up, and they know they can trace who porn bombed the Hangout. So let's
So do
get
it.
the facts out.
So do
Yeah,
it.
let's do it.
Exactly.
Yep. Let's
do
go.
it.
So if I'm wrong, I guess I'm sorry. Then I guess exactly you're
Do it.
admitting right now you're not even going to report me. Exactly. We're going to do this tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to
Then
do
do
this
it.
on a live hangout tomorrow.
Why don't you do it
I
right
will
now?
call the police on a live hangout tomorrow because you're a pedophile, Tim.
Cool.
You got caught with child pornography. Congratulations, buddy. Jason Carl's Hornsberry got caught with child pornography.
This is
Congratulations,
hey, this
buddy.
is pure
And this is being
slander, Nate.
and I am
it's
so
actually,
happy. Yes,
you're
do
actually
something about
using
it.
somebody's
Yes,
name that's
let's
not
go.
me.
Oh, Timothy
I would
Osman,
recommend that
Jason
you
Carl's
do something
Hornsberry.
about this.
Oh, that's why you're upset that I'm using that name, huh, Timmy? Yeah, Jason Carl Hornsberry, Timothy Osman. Yeah, you got caught, buddy. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have fucked with me. All right, you should have picked
Hold
somebody
on.
else
No,
to use your child porn on.
Pillbox.
Sorry, buddy.
Right, strike one. Just no swearing and calm down. If you this beef is going to be allowed to air because it is very much Flat Earth related. Now, feel free. You've just
It's
about.
turned into it really has turned into a cesspool
Just
of a
calm
lot of
down.
criminals, Nathan. That's the reality.
Pillbox, you've got all the time in the world, but just repeating the same things 15 times isn't going to get you anywhere. It's not going to prove your point. And, you know, if your point is that you're going to have a phone call live on air tomorrow, I'd host it. More than happy to. But for the meantime, rather than just repeating the same thing 15 times, if you want to present some evidence...
Then I think we'll do that, Nathan. I think I will make arrangements with you, and we will do that, and I will report it on your Hangout. I think that's a good idea.
You could do it now if you wanted to. But I'm saying if you want to do that tomorrow or whenever I'm hosting one of these, you're welcome to. But
Yeah, I mean, well, you offered, so I'm going to take the offer up. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to look into the actual nearest date to give these people a little bit of leeway as far as getting close to when he did it. I have no problem with doing it, Nathan. I appreciate that. So yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Good idea.
Okay.
So yeah, I apologize for ruining your hangout, Nathan, but I can only take this perverted criminal so much that wants to keep playing around like he's
Doing it
innocent. And it, blah 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 blah. We could talk about it later. I guess we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, we can talk about it whenever you like. As I've said, this is not. You're not ruining anything. This is a flat Earth related subject.
It is, because why? And that's another thing. Like, what does that tell us when these are the type of people that are attacking flat Earth? And it's not just my hangout. It was Brother Sanchez. It was Dredd. You've been exposed. I mean, there was like 3 months of this
You have
going
no
on.
evidence
I'm not
it's
the
me.
only person that witnessed it. I'm
You have
sorry,
no
you're a
evidence it's
pedophile,
me.
Timmy. Then call the police. Then do something about it. Then, if I'm wrong, Jason.
No,
Carl
you're going to do
Horsberry,
that
do something
tomorrow.
about it. Then exactly, and you're not, because you're guilty.
Nathan,
Exactly, I'm going to do it.
I've warned you.
Exactly,
He keeps
Jason
saying
Carl
somebody
Hornsberry
else's
used
name.
child pornography. We will absolutely do this tomorrow. Thank you very much. Yep.
I've warned you, Nate. All
do
right?
something about it then. Do something about it, Jason. Do something about it, Carl Hornsberry. Do
You're
something
talking
about
about
it.
somebody that is
Then do something about it,
pretty
Timmy
well
Osmond.
established
Whoa,
in
whoa.
Denver, and you're
Then do
calling him a
something about it.
pedophile.
Yeah, well, Tim
Pillbox,
Osmond, the person I'm
Pillbox,
talking
come
right
on, come
now,
on.
is the one who used child pornogaphy 7 months
You
ago on
keep
Flat Earth
saying it.
Elected and
Pillbox,
bomb
you
our
keep
hangout,
saying
and
the
we got
same thing.
flagged for it.
Where's the evidence
So
of
what
that?
you gonna do about it? I'm
Pillbox.
sorry, but how
Where's
come
the
you're not
evidence
gonna
of that?
report me? If I'm wrong, how come you're not doing something about it? The evidence is right.
That's what I'll do about it.
Yeah, Pillbox, you've got to let him reply. So
No, I've removed him from
Oh.
this troll cast. Okay, because
please
I'm
don't
not
boot
gonna I'm
people.
not gonna allow you to have something go on where somebody slanders me and calls me a pedophile when he's also talking not even about me. He's talking about somebody else in Denver that has a real life that you guys have already harassed due to this shit. Okay.
Oh, whoa. I've not done anything. And as far as I'm aware, no one in this
Yeah,
panel
you
has
let
done
this
anything.
go on. That's not my name. Okay.
So what?
That's not my name. And these claims of people calling people pedophiles is very serious. Okay.
Yeah, I
It's very
agree.
fucking serious. People need to stop this.
No. He's free to do what he likes, right? And you're not free to tell him to do whatever you want him to do. If he wants to come on, I'll tell him to shut up. He said it 5 times. He said it 15 times. What he's doing is exposing himself. Now, that looks and looked terrible for him. You know,
that's what's crazy about these supposed Christians that go around and lie like this. He has no evidence. He's been saying this for months and months. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I get some message saying, "Hey, did you do that?" at like 4 o'clock in the morning from somebody that lives in Australia. And I sleep during the night, dude. Like it's something that I've been blamed for. And people like Bro Sanchez and all these other people continue to call me a pedophile because that's what they do to discredit me. It's the worst ad hominem you could literally do to discredit what I've done here.
right.
I'm not, dude. And you know what? Literally, there's nothing worse that you can say to me that I'm doing stuff to children. Okay? If you knew me at all, Nathan, if you knew me at all, you would know that is not fucking anything. I take that very seriously, dude. Kids and innocence and stuff like this. And so when people come on, I think that you should fucking put a sock in it, dude.
Right,
Bullshit, man.
Well, I'm not going to. In the same way, while you're talking about...
I don't care. I'll fucking leave then. Fuck you.
I don't want you to leave. Well, I don't want to piss either Pillbox or Tim Osman off, but the bottom line here is if Pillbox wants to come and moan about being sniped and blame it on Tim Osman, then he's entitled to do so, and Tim Osman's entitled to be pissed off if he's being falsely accused. What I'm not going to do is censor that. You know, that behaviour is what I want to actually be exposed on these sorts of feeds. So, from my perspective, Pillbox looked awful then. You know, I completely agree with Tim Osman. It was slanderous. But by me just muting it and censoring it, people don't get to see that. And I do want them to see that. What I would have hoped was that Pillbox actually presented some evidence. You know, saying he's going to phone the police tomorrow. Hopefully, he'll either sleep on this and realise that perhaps if he was to phone the police and just put the ball in their court, there's a good chance that they won't be tapping phone calls and looking through records. They've got better things to do. They probably won't be interested. For a start, the statute's probably long gone. But all of that aside, we didn't see any evidence presented. We just had the same slanderous remark 15 times. Right. And there's no need for it. No need at all. But sorry, V-Way, I just want to say this once more time, which is that I'm not going to stop people doing that. I'll tell them to stop, but by the same token, they're exposing themselves, and I'm more than willing to let them do it if it's related to Flat Earth.
Well, Pillbox and Rand Campbell are trolls. Their history goes way back and can be easily seen by anybody.
The question is, was it supposedly child porn, or was it just regular porn?
I have no idea.
Boy,
If
poor
it was
bloody
child porn,
LVB.
I know nothing about this subject.
If they were contacted, they would probably take it more seriously because they probably can access a lot more. There's probably no statute of limitations on that.
No,
So.
there isn't a statute, and yes, they could. I'm sure that the information is stored somewhere. I have no clue. I don't know, but.
So that is a really serious allegation that someone's going to make. So.
And if it's false, then Pillbox is in a great deal, or should be in a great deal of trouble, depending on where he lives.
Yeah.
I suppose.
It's concerning.
No, Daniel Reza, it's not okay for a guest to snipe the panel. I'm pretty pissed off at Tim Osman, but you know, he's ejected himself from the show. He'll be welcome back on the next one, which is what I'll say whenever anybody leaves or ejects themselves.
This is one of the problems. This is one of the problems of the flat Earth community. The flat Earth community is composed mainly of trolls and con artists and their marks. You have a lot of extremely religious people who want to believe a lie, and you have the con artists who are willing to lie to them and to take their money. And so quite a number of prominent flat Earth channels have had Patreon accounts, and then they take off with the money, and the people here will support them because they're desperate to believe what they want to believe. They're either conspiracy theorists who think that the flat Earth is the biggest and brightest, best new conspiracy theory there is, or they're extremely religious people who really want their.
If I can interject, all right. So what do you class Tim Osman as then?
Troll.
I think he's pretty trollish, but he's also pretty well informed.
So he's a well-informed troll. So what about the accusations that Pillbox made against him? Because even if Pillbox may not be correct on him being the actual culprit, I've witnessed him do similar things. If it's not being with child pornography, because I haven't seen him do it with child pornography, but I've seen him do that with actual pornography and get people's channels taken down. So when you want to sit there and like slander really flat earthers, why don't you talk about the people that come to their shows and actually derail to the point that they're trying to get their channels taken down? Why are there so many trolls that find it their cause, or what would be their purpose for coming on and trying to get people's channels taken down for having that type of an opinion? There is people out there like David Icke and other people that think they're shape-shifting reptiles. Why don't people like Tim Osman and yourself and whoever else is so against flat Earth, why don't you just go try and stop people like that from going around and earning money for saying they're shape-shifting reptiles, or that the Nibiru is going to come and end the world, or all these other things? Why are you so adamant about flat Earth? Why are you so emotionally attached to this?
I think that's probably a fair enough question. I'm not aware of those channels. I don't know everybody that's in the flat Earth community at all. What I do is I basically Google flat Earth and select live channels, and if I can get on one, then I talk to people about the flat Earth. I used to go quite regularly to the Flat Earth Debates channel, and then the Flat Earth, and then it redid itself again, and I did that. And then I gave it up for a while. I don't know all of these trolls that you're talking about. I don't watch a great deal of flat Earth content. I just try to go on shows and try to get invited in and to talk to them.
So what are your, all right, I'll just leave it there, because I have never really seen you troll, Brenda. I've seen you try to come on and actually have discussions.
Well,
so it's not really up to you to answer for other people and their actions. But what are your thoughts on the NASA photography, so-called photography? Do you believe that we're actually being shown a proper image of the Earth from space?
Yeah.
That's
I have
probably
no
But they
reason to. I have no reason to
they-
believe we're not being shown the proper image. From
They admit that it's CGI and composites.
yeah, of
and
course
actually
it's
they use
composite. Of
Photoshop.
course it's
They
composite.
Sorry,
admit
this
that
is-
some of them are CGI.
This is going to be a
What's
good
wrong-
conversation. I'm
what's
sorry
wrong
to
with
interrupt you.
composite, and they admit that they use Photoshop.
Right, I'm
Well,
sorry
of
to
course they
interrupt you
do.
guys. Brenda,
Everybody
sorry.
uses
Brenda,
Photoshop.
please, just sorry. We've got a new guest. So, Mr. I don't know what your name is because your channel
Mr.
avatar. Who is it, sorry?
I don't know who he is.
Mr. Can you say hello?
Hello,
What's your name?
Mr. Smith.
Good to have you here, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, everybody else.
Yeah, as
Thank you.
far as photographs go, everybody uses Photoshop. And yes,
I
there's
don't
nothing
use
wrong
Photoshop.
with there's nothing
I
wrong
don't use
with
Photoshop.
there's nothing wrong with using composite images.
How are they able to take a picture from a satellite or even a rocket or whatnot that's apparently in space and then send that down? They don't have a developing studio in space that they're able to then put into a post box and then get mailed down to Earth. So how are they sending these pictures back?
By radio.
By radio. So they're actually transmitting zeros, data. They're transmitting zeros and ones. And then that's being.
I don't know. I would imagine, yes.
That's what I know. What's happening? It's data. They actually don't send photos back to Earth. They send ones and zeros that are then reinterpreted
That's still
into
a photo.
what
That's
is an
still a
image.
photo.
No, that's not an image. That's not a photo. Come on.
Yeah, it is. Is your image a photo? Your icon right here? Is that a photograph?
My icon's a meme that.
But
has
the
been
man,
photoshopped.
the man there, the man, the man, is it?
It's a graphic.
The man, is that a photo though? Would you say that's a photo?
No, I'd say that Nathan Oakley's picture's a photo.
No, it's not. It's video.
His actual image that he's using right now.
Oh, for the icon, you'd say that's a photograph. You'd say that's a photo.
That's a photograph. That's a
Yeah.
photo.
Well, how's that different? That's ones and zeros. That's just ones and zeros.
I understand what you're trying to say, yeah, down to its true core. They're all just ones and zeros that are being interpreted, but
Down to the core, your voice and my voice is ones and zeros. It's getting translated into ones and zeros on my computer in the audio card.
So this data can travel through the alleged atmosphere with no problems, no effects on the signal.
The alleged atmosphere? Do you think we don't have an atmosphere?
I haven't seen proof of one yet.
You haven't seen proof of an atmosphere on Earth.
Correct.
Take a deep breath.
Seriously,
so when you're
Brenda.
so when you're shown, oh sorry,
And that would be
Brenda has
an atmosphere.
Right, okay, here's the thing. When you were talking about Tim versus Brenda, who's a troll and who's not a troll, Tim actually has tons of content, original content. Brenda literally has zero content, at least
That's
under
correct.
this current,
under
this current identity of
Well,
Brenda
so
Von
what,
Ask.
Julie? She's here
that
now.
this
correct.
She's sorry.
'Cause
She's here
this,
now.
so
Just
so,
talk to her.
so do you, even though he's got tons of content, do you agree with his actions? Do you agree with him going around to people that he disagrees with and actually joining their hangouts, kicking them off their own hangout, which is referred to as sniping, and also porn bombing them, so then their channel gets taken down or given a copyright or a flag?
He has sniped me. He's also been a guest on my show without sniping me a couple times, and I do not agree with anyone sniping anybody. I do not agree with anybody doxing anybody under any circumstances ever. And
Is that what you're trying to do to me, though?
I also have no proof of him porn bombing. And no, I'm not trying to dox you personally, Brenda.
You can't.
No,
you know why you can't?
I don't want to.
You can't.
I don't want to. Yeah.
Even if you wanted to, you could. Do you know why?
Great. That's good.
Do you know why you can't dox me?
I don't care why. It's good that I'm not going to try to dox you. And nobody needs to dox me.
You can't dox me. This is my real name. This is my real name.
Okay. I'm agreeing with you. Can you please just stay back for a second? Okay. Nobody needs to dox anybody at all. Flat Earth and all the relevant topics thereof are all ideas, words, philosophies, maths, diagrams. This does not have to get so fucking personal. I don't see why anyone even wants to dox anybody. And silencing your opposition, like what was done to me for 3 months, okay? Shit like that does not need to be happening to people.
But it is personal. But it is personal. I'm going to interject there and say it is personal, though, because if I've been lied to about the shape of the Earth, and it happens that the Earth is not an oblate spheroid that's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour around, like with all these other equations attached to it, all right, I won't go into it, in the universe that it is. If I've been lied to about that, all right, and the shape is not what they've told me, and it's this is being taught in the schooling systems, then yeah, I'm going to be a bit angry. I'm going to, and it is personal.
You're be angry that someone started a YouTube channel and presented their opinion for free on a free platform? You're going to be mad at that person?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say I'm going to be angry at somebody else for having a personal opinion that they're going to then put out on their YouTube channel. I'm talking about in general. You said that, why is everybody taking Flat Earth personal? Well,
why do they
is
want
personal. I've been lied to about the shape of the Earth, and it happens to be not what they've told us. I'm not going to say flat because I don't know what shape it is. But
so every documentary that's ever been made, every documentary in history that's ever been made, if some of them having bad info, now it's okay for you to go and hunt down whoever created that thing, tell the whole YouTube community what that person's address is. That doesn't make sense. Your logic doesn't make sense.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that those people need to be doxxed or anything like that. But I'm saying that it is personal. It is personal. It's personal to the point where I've been lied to.
I've trying to justify doxing. Yeah, but you're trying to justify doxing because you watched something that was made for free, that you watched for free, and it's just an opinion, and you're saying that that person should be doxed.
Well, there we go. At least you can say there. If it's just an opinion, why is it being taught in the school systems as fact?
Because it is a fact.
But he just said that it's an opinion.
What's an opinion?
No, I'm talking about you getting mad at I'm talking about people doxing people on YouTube. I'm not talking about what the school system teaches people.
I'm not into doxing anyway. I don't agree with doxing anyway.
Saying that it would be justified to dox someone if you felt like you watched their YouTube video and you felt like they lied to you.
I didn't say that. Don't put words.
That's what you're arguing. That's what you're arguing for.
I didn't. I didn't. I said that. No, I didn't. I said that if I've been lied to about the shape of the Earth, that is personal. So when you say to people, why are they taking it personal? Well, that's what you said. Why are people taking it personal? And then I said, I've got to interject right there.
No, I said, why are people taking it to the personal level and wanting to expose people's personal data?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well,
one at a time. We can't hear you. Slow down. We can't hear you. Just one at a time, please.
I can hear him. I can hear him perfectly fine. Yeah, but I misinterpreted what you said then. I misheard you. Sorry. I thought you just said personal, personal level.
People get emotional because they're emotionally invested in a particular ideology being true. They want,
which is why you're here. Which is why you're here too.
That's why we're all here, isn't it? We've got some type of emotional attachment.
Brenda was just about to say that flat earthers are all emotional and butthurt or something. He is just as emotional as the rest of us.
I sometimes do get emotional, yes.
We've all got an emotional attachment to this. That's why we all keep on coming back, whether it's the shills that are paid to be here or it's the people that come on their own accord. They've got some type of an emotional attachment to this.
For myself, I think I've gotten better at argumentation and explaining myself. And I think that that's the value that it has for me. How to handle myself, how to deal with people who are peppered.
You come into these chats. You come into these chats to hurt people's feelings, Brenda.
No.
Could you substantiate those claims, validation board?
Listen to any show with Brenda Von Essen on it. Watch any show with Brenda Von Essen on it at any time, any place, anywhere, ever, including this show.
Because, like, my personal, like, I don't have anything against Brenda. Brenda's a transgender, and that's like I really haven't heard him, her, she. I think she wants to be classed as a she, so yes. I haven't really heard her talk negative about a person.
Well, then you haven't
She
listened
might be
enough.
wrong, and then try to like. That's what I
No, I've
like.
called
There's
people
There's
names.
some people on the opposite side, like say Gem Panda. All right, they don't agree with the flat Earth, and they just try to provide the information. They don't really go into personal insults as much.
I've called people
They might
names.
say,
Gem
"Oh, you're wrong and you're stupid," but everybody does.
Everybody melts down.
I've called people stupid. I've gotten
Yeah,
angry.
that's what I'm saying. That everybody does that. Everybody calls somebody stupid at some point. But I'm talking about personal attacks, like like we just heard with the pedophile thing with Tim Osman,
Well,
and
certainly never to that level.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like that. That's what I'm talking about. I haven't heard you go into that level.
I don't think that porn bombing is a good thing to do. I have sniped people when I've gotten really angry, and then I kind of regret it a little bit. Although I'm sort of ambivalent because sometimes I think they deserved it.
So back to these photos about of Earth from space, Brenda.
Yeah.
So you believe that they're legitimate images that should be used as evidence
Well,
that the Earth is a ball?
They're assembled from satellite data, and some of those satellites just take strips. They image strips of the Earth. It's not the whole Earth, and then those strips are then assembled later on into a fuller image.
So how do we know that this assembly process isn't where the corruption or fraudulent activity is going on, where then they're manipulating the data at that point, because the satellites or whatever it may be that I don't believe in, they could be transmitting this data back, and then at that point the image could be manipulated at that point where it's reassembled.
Well, we have independent data from the Japanese Hawari satellite, which takes full disk images, and the Russians also have a satellite that takes full disk images.
You're talking about space agencies that are all interlinked.
No, they're not. The United States, they're not interlinked. There's no What do you mean by interlinked?
Interlinked, they are. All space agencies.
What does that mean, interlinked?
Together. They all work together. They all share their research findings. They're interlinked.
That's just how science works.
That's not
organizational. Science. Yes, it is. You share data with other scientists.
That's just
by interlinked.
That's not science. That's not science. That's
by interlinked, I take it. By interlinked, I take you to mean organization and the organizational structure.
Yeah, they're interlinked.
No. The administrator of NASA doesn't oversee anybody in Japan or any other foreign country.
No, but they have direct relations with the other.
Well, so what?
Overseer. So they have direct relations.
So the engineers and the administrators and managers at NASA will talk to the engineers and the administrators
no.
And scientists in Japan
don't even
and
try
in
to go there with
Brazil.
me. It's compartmentalization, just like they do in the military, where the engineers that build the rockets aren't the ones that put the rockets on the rocket ship. All right, so don't tell me about that. All right, it's compartmentalization, and that's how they're able to achieve this goal, because the one person that builds something that apparently goes onto the rocket doesn't put it on the rocket. They do their job that they're paid to do, and then they go elsewhere. They're not even involved in the building of the rocket. They are involved in building of a certain module of what is supposed to be a rocket. Compartmentalization, and that's how
isn't that how a lot of things are made? Isn't that how a lot of things are made? I mean, the car that a lot of people drive is made in different places all over the world. It's compartmentalized, modularized in a module sense, and then it's brought together and assembled in some place, and then you drive your car. It's the same thing.
You're not going to get anywhere with Brenda. Brenda's a blind believer. Brenda's a blind believer, and it just fights just to be a contrarian. And we know this about you, Brenda.
Just give her something. Just give her an argument, validation boy. Give her like a topic, an argument. Like try and bring something to the topic about flat Earth and see if she can answer it. Let's just try and let Nathan's show be a debate show.
Okay, here's the thing. So celestial objects are allegedly objects. Okay, no one's ever been to these objects. No one can even prove their composition, what they're made of, if they are if they think they are where they really are. And take the floor, Brenda. There you go.
Yes, we can prove of what they're made out of
How can we prove that?
through spectroscopy.
Really?
Yes. So when you burn an element, like say, for instance, copper in a fire, and then you can look through a spectrograph. You can basically break the light coming from that down, and you can form what is called a spectrographic image. And the lines will show up in the spectrograph that show where the energies are that correspond with copper and any other
You're talking about
impurities that happen
through
to be in there. So that's how you can measure or know what the composition is of a star like the sun or any other
If I can interject, you're talking about looking through the Van Allen radiation belt. So how is there no distortion just from the atmospheric layers and the ozone layers and whatever else that you wanted, the ionosphere, the stratosphere, and the Van Allen belt? How aren't these things? Wouldn't they have some type of effect on this measurement that you're trying to present?
They would have a huge effect.
No.
They would have a huge effect.
No, they would not.
Why not?
Why would energized particles in a Van Allen belt interfere with light from a distant star?
Your viewing of the light of a distant star, why wouldn't it?
It doesn't.
You can't just say it doesn't.
Well, because the radiation doesn't interact with light. That's why.
How do you know it's just radiation?
We're talking about particles.
How do you know it's just radiation?
Do you have some evidence that the Van Allen belt is composed of something other than highly energized particles?
Your beloved NASA said that it was, I believe.
That it was what?
Like the astronauts had to physically travel through this stuff that would have poisoned them, and that's why they can't go to the moon now. So yeah, I think if something has enough mass to radiate them, it's going to affect energy that's passing through it.
Why would it do that?
Man, okay.
Well, I'm just wondering, why would
there's probably plenty of examples of experiments done in labs, but see, we can't even trust that because then it's the difference of, is space real or is space not real? Is there such a thing as space? And once again, that's something that you cannot prove, Brenda. You cannot prove that space is real, and that
they can prove, but they cannot provide evidence. They can prove, because proof is just to compel the mind to assert something is true, and that's how the lie is being perpetrated onto us. They've showed proof, and proof is just compelling arguments, all right, and they don't need to be truth. It just needs to be asserting that it's true.
Science
and that's all that your so-called science is. That's all your so-called science is, Brenda, is their proofs. They're compelling arguments that assert something is true. There is no evidence behind what you're saying. They're just proofs.
That's false. For one thing, science doesn't prove anything. Science develops a hypothesis based on observation, and then science develops hypotheses. The hypothesis is tested, a theory is formed, and then evidence that can either confirm or disconfirm the theory is tested. Experiments.
And then blind faith takes over.
No.
So you have just as much blind faith in the scientists as a religious person has in the priests.
False. Because the inferences that we make based on scientific evidence, we have justified evidence for why we believe a theory about
you believe in evolution, don't you?
To be true.
You believe in evolution, don't you?
Correct.
There's no evidence for evolution.
Yes, there is.
Oh my God!
No. Don't laugh at her. Just pop yourselves on mute.
Evidence.
Pop yourselves on mute and let her speak.
Evidence would be something that would confirm or disconfirm a theory. So we have the theory of natural selection, and the evidence for that theory would be
the strongest survive.
DNA or fossil evidence.
How are
And
you
there are
able to
other
tell what
types.
time? You don't pull up this carbon dating and what else? What is the other process that you go into? Carbon dating, and then there's another one.
Well,
Carnivore
there's many different types of dating.
That's all
There's
bullshit. That's all
carbon.
mumbo jumbo.
No, it's not.
I
You
fucking
got to
looked
qualify
into it
that a bit, Adam.
myself.
Come on.
It's all mumbo jumbo. They cannot accurately measure when something like a fossil apparently lived. You can't tell me that a bone existed 2 million years ago. When
Yes, you can.
the bones that we have now, they deteriorate within 100 years and less.
Yeah, we can tell how old these things are.
Oh my god!
You use
Well, let's hear it.
radiometric dating.
Radiometric
dating.
dating. There we go. Right.
Yes.
They are mumbo jumbo.
Why is
Snake
it?
oil.
What is wrong? What is wrong with the concept of radiometric dating?
The scientists, by their own admission, they have admitted that it's all projection and assumption.
Yep.
And based off other
all-
historical established sidelines, which were also based on speculation.
That's just all false. What you're saying. You just spout out this stuff as if it's supposed to mean something, but it isn't. Radiometric dating is based on the solid fact of radioactive half-lives. We know the half-life of different isotopes of the radioactive elements. We know how long it takes for them to decay. And then
Your evolution theory leads back to
they
Big
can be
Bang.
measured. They can be measured how much is in a sample, and then you can calculate how old it is.
I've seen
and you don't know how, and you don't know if there's any other factors that contribute to this. You don't know if something happens, say 200-300 years around where that fossil happened, that happened to add more of whatever it is or less of whatever it is that they're trying to measure.
Exactly.
Well, since it's inside of a rock, how would that material get in there?
Oh well. That doesn't mean that it's not susceptible to having.
Those would be details. Those would be details that I'd be unfamiliar with. You would need to ask somebody who was an expert in the field of radiometric dating, and you can find that information. You can find that information on the internet pretty easily. There's plenty of information.
I had a good long stint of looking into this radiometric and carbon dating, and yeah, it's all hocus pocus and circus trickery. It's like a circus. What the circus done is they had elephants and giraffes and monkeys and all these other animals that they used in their slideshows. And then what they done when the animal died is they then fucking turned them into dinosaurs. And said,
yeah,
this
that's
animal
not true.
exists.
That's
Put all the
false.
bones
That's
together.
not true. So if your research consists, if your research consists,
it's mixing the bones of a bull and a bear and a
that's not
giraffe
true.
and all this, yes, it is.
If your research consists in reading creationist websites, then it's no wonder that you're confused. Why don't you read what the pro side has to say?
I did. I went to the pro side.
No, you did.
Tried to
hear
it from their point of view. Yes, I did.
No,
don't tell me
you
what
haven't.
I've done, what I haven't done. Yes, I did.
I know that you haven't done it because you don't understand. You don't understand this at even.
I always go to the pro side of something.
You know,
I've sat there and went to the pro side of everything.
There are children that understand this better than you do.
Like I was saying,
understand their indoctrination.
Right.
There's children that understand their regurgitated indoctrination.
No.
So once again, Brenda's a fucking troll who comes up in here and tries to trigger people and tries to hurt people's feelings, and everything that he says is complete and utter BS. You know it's true, Brenda. You know you're just sitting on here trying to be a contrarian. You don't even believe this stuff, Brenda. You don't even believe this stuff.
You don't understand.
You don't even believe this.
You don't understand basic science. You don't understand basic issues.
Basic science. So you're saying that space science and earth science are basic sciences now?
You're saying radiometric dating are basic science?
Yeah, those are basic sciences, right, Brenda?
Yes.
Yes, they are. How many PhDs do you have?
Wait. You just said that they're basic science, but then when I asked you about something relating to that, you said that I'm going to have to go somewhere that has an expert in the field. So you don't even know the basic science behind these.
So I can teach a child, the basics of physics.
Okay.
I can teach them the basics of physics, but the fact that physics can also be taken to a graduate, postgraduate, PhD level, it doesn't invalidate it. The facts that I teach to an 8th grader.
So you think
Right?
that what 8th grade level
So
proofs have you brought to us in this conversation that the Earth is a globe?
you haven't asked. You've been talking about the age of the Earth here, or evolution, not the globe.
Evolution leads back to the Big Bang. Evolution leads back to the Big Bang.
No, it doesn't. Evolution doesn't lead back to the Big Bang. That's a completely separate project.
You guys
No,
hear
it's
the
not. I'm not a contrarian. Evolution has nothing to do. Evolution has nothing to do with the Big Bang. One is a question in physics, and the other is a question in biology.
So wait. Out of nothing become single cell organisms, and then from single cell organisms they evolved. So what are you talking about, Brenda? From the Big Bang come single cell organisms. From the single cell organisms they evolved. That's the word that you use. All right.
The elements
I didn't use those words at all.
Lead back to the Big Bang.
The elements were in place from the Big Bang for evolution to allegedly occur. It is inherently intertwined, Brenda.
No, they're not. There's a possible world where this Earth is like.
No, they're not. Give me a break, Brenda. I mean, you're done. You're toast. You're toast, Brenda.
Biology and evolution are unrelated to the theory of the Big Bang or cosmology.
From the Big Bang come single-celled organisms. Would you agree?
No.
Explain. Well, what do you agree with then? Well, what's your take on them?
The Big Bang
theory
is a cosmological theory that talks about the very early instance
primordial soup.
So you ask me questions, and then you interrupt me while I'm explaining to you. The Big Bang is a cosmological theory of the earliest moments of the formation of the universe, and how it evolved from a primordial.
What word did you just use? What word did you just use?
Evolved.
Primordial, evolved elements. Yeah.
Yes, I'm using the word evolution or evolve has two separate meanings. One meaning simply means change over time, and another meaning refers specifically to the theory of evolution as given in biology. So stars evolve, but they are not subject to natural selection. Stars evolve by changing over time.
Well, they are subject to natural selection in that.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are, because a star collides with another star, and then the one that's bigger or the better
that's
takes
not.
over
That's
that
just.
star. So they are.
That's just physical process. That's not natural selection.
That's natural selection.
No, it's not.
It is
the bigger
natural
ones
selection.
get bigger.
The two stars collide, and the stronger
ones get bigger.
No,
the bigger ones get bigger.
That's not natural selection. Natural selection is differential survival over long periods of time.
Brenda's differentiating the two by saying that one is biological and one is inanimate matter.
Right. The stars that survive a long time don't do so because they were able to avoid predator stars.
Well, yes, it is, because they're not on the collision course with another star, so they're able to. Yes, it is.
You're just sounding really desperate now. So the Big Bang is a theory of cosmology. Evolution is a theory in biology. They are not related. It is not necessarily the case that the Big Bang is true if evolution is true.
So the Big Bang caused the primordial soup. From the primordial soup come single-celled organisms. From single-celled organisms, they evolved into.
That's abiogenesis. That's the origin of life. That is a separate problem from evolution.
That's a problem. Yeah, I understand that it's a problem. Because there's no truth to it, so it's a problem. Yeah.
Does Brenda understand that the Big Bang and the moment of creation from our creator are inherently the same exact thing? Or would Brenda suggest that we were never created and that space has always been here forever?
the Big Bang does not say that the universe began at a particular moment. The Big Bang only goes back to
the Big Bang.
0.0000 whatever, how many zeros there are, moments in the origin of the universe. It has nothing to do. The Big Bang does not say if the universe was created or how it was created. It applies only to those moments of rapid expansion early in the life of the universe.
Early in the life of the universe. So
you're
early,
talking about the life being,
he's
you're
talking
talking
about
about the life
time.
being in an organism now.
Yes.
You just said that the
And he's
universe
talking
is an
about time.
organism now, but yet that it's not prone to the same things that an organism here would be prone to.
Interesting.
You just said
the universe is not an organism.
But you just said
You
life
just said
of
it
the
was.
life
No,
of the
I
universe.
didn't say it was.
You just said the life of the universe.
Yes, I know.
If something has
you also
life,
talked-
then it's biological.
No,
you also
that's
talked
just
about
that's just
time.
common. That's just common usage of words. I mean,
And you also talked about time.
yes.
Yeah. So we're talking about time. We're talking about linear. We're talking about beginnings, middles, ends. We're talking about creation, inception.
The Big Bang doesn't talk about beginnings. It winds the clock backwards.
What are you talking about? That's the entire thing about the Big Bang is that it's supposed to have been the beginning.
It's not. It's not.
True. That's not
false.
true. No, I'm not a contrarian either. You really have no substance to what you're trying to argue, Brenda. You're just contrarian.
And how are they able
for the
to
sake
make the Big Bang?
I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know
you
exactly
don't.
what I'm talking. There are other cosmological theories by various physicists who are attempting to explain the origin of the universe, whether it began at the Big Bang or maybe it did not. There are several different theories about this.
How are they able to determine when the Big Bang happened? They've got telescopes that are looking back into where the Big Bang occurred, right? Is that
because
the
every telescope is basically a time machine.
Wow.
That's true.
So every telescope is Marty McFly.
Right. Every telescope is basically a time machine because when you look at an image
every
that is far away, then you are seeing that as it was when the light left that object, not as it is now.
Every telescope is the DeLorean, and every telescope, everybody that views
I didn't say
telescope is Marty McFly.
So what was your point about the fact that all the telescopes are looking back in time to establish, that there was this Big Bang? What was your point about that?
Because we can look back.
No, not you. The other guest here. I don't know what his name is. I'm sorry.
Adam.
Oh, Adam. Adam. Okay. What was your idea, Adam? Moving forward with that.
Oh, I'm back. What did you end with? I couldn't hear you.
Well, no, you were about to say something about the Big Bang and about how telescopes are all pointing back towards the origin point. What was the point that you were trying to make before?
She said that telescopes are time machines, so then therefore telescopes are the DeLoreans, and anybody that views through a telescope is Marty McFly.
Yeah, that's not a valid conclusion. From the fact that because telescopes can see objects that are, say, 1 million light years away, we see them as they were 1 million years ago because it took 1 million years for that light to reach us. That doesn't make the telescope a fucking DeLorean.
You're telling me they're time machines?
Yes, I am. When you look at an object, when you look at an object that is 1 million light years away, the light you are seeing.
How are you able to determine that it's a million light years away? How are you able to determine it's 1 million light years away before you even go any further? How are you able to measure that?
Astronomers have a unit of measurement called a standard candle.
Go ahead, elaborate with that.
And they can use the standard candle to measure how far away things are, in addition to redshifting. Light is redshifted away because objects are moving away from us. And you can measure how much a star is redshifted, and you can calculate how far away it is.
And is there any possibility that these measurements or these measurement tools are inaccurate?
I would imagine it is possible to be inaccurate. It is possible that scientists make mistakes and they misread their instruments, or their instruments work incorrectly, or the tools they use are imperfect. I think all of that is possible.
What did you refer to it as? The candle? What was the actual
This
name
is
for it?
standard candle, the astronomer's standard candle.
The standard candle. So is there any way that that is actually incorrect?
I don't know. I'm not really sure I know what you mean at this point.
Well, there's tons of ways that they could be incorrect. Because first, they're going off the assumption that space is even something that's real, with no way possible to physically verify that reality. And that's why everything that Brenda ever says and anything that any Glober ever says is 100% blind faith. Right off the bat.
Yeah, in conjecture.
Yeah, you're just talking
inherently, right off the bat. You never been there. You don't know, Brenda, and you pretend that you do, and that's why you fail.
No, I don't fail, and I don't have to be somewhere to know something about that place. I've never been to Australia, but I can know or find out a great deal about Australia.
It's different. It's different. That's very different. You can get there. Humans can get to Australia.
You cannot get to the moon. That's the difference, Brenda.
That's not a difference.
Yeah, there is. It's a big difference. Talking about somewhere where you can actually get to that you haven't been to. I haven't been to Las Vegas.
Been to the moon.
I don't know all about Las Vegas, because humans can get to Las Vegas. So then other humans can then detail it for me. And I'm not being dictated to by a certain organization. I can mean all humans can get to Las Vegas. All right. Only a certain group can get to the moon.
I can't get to Las
Vegas. Okay, Brenda. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know. But it's possible if I want to go to Vegas, I can go to Vegas and prove that it exists. Okay. Yes. I cannot go to the moon. Okay?
Yes, you could. If you wanted to go to the moon.
No, he can't. No, he can't. No, he can't.
Yes, he can.
No, he can't. No, he can't.
Why not?
Okay, then.
Why can't you go to the moon?
He can't go through the Van Allen belt.
Why does that prevent him from going to the moon?
Because he can't get through the Van Allen belt without it killing him.
Really?
Any rocket
Are you sure about that?
Any rocket that we created that could get us to the moon wouldn't work because of the amount of fuel it would take for us to physically get to the moon. How about that?
So let's deal with one thing at a time. Why would the Van Allen belts prevent you from reaching the moon?
NASA says it prevents them from reaching the moon now.
It would kill him.
That's not an answer. Why?
NASA answered this question for you already, Brenda.
No, they didn't. No,
yes,
they didn't.
They have. That's why they're not going to the moon right now.
You're not answering. You're not answering why.
Ask your beloved NASA why, because they're the ones that tell us why.
Well, I know why. I'm asking if you know why.
Adam?
I'll be back in 2 seconds. So.
Oh, you got to Google.
I know why they can't get, because give me a minute and I'll come back up.
Well, I'll fill you in, because the Van Allen belts are areas of high. The Van Allen belts are areas of high radiation, and so what they do is they plan for the craft to leave the Earth through an area where it is relatively thin and not quite so radioactive, and plus they're protected from the radiation by the metallic shell of the spacecraft.
Has this strategy ever taken place and actually been enacted by NASA flights?
Yes, many times. We've been to the moon many times.
And in those travels to the moon, they detailed these specific details about the Van Allen belt.
I don't know. I'm not an expert in moon travel.
Oh, okay. The point being, we can't go to the moon. These things are intangible. You act like
You haven't shown that. You still haven't shown that.
You act like you know that these things are physical objects. They could look like physical objects, but you can't prove that they're physical objects. You can't prove it.
I do know that. Yes, I do. We've been there.
Okay, Nathan, I think I'm done here. It's been an honor to be on your show, brother.
We brought samples back from the moon. We've sent people there. They took photographs of the moon.
Thank you, Nathan, for letting me participate.
They walked around on the surface of the moon. But you might as well ask if I can, how I could know, for instance.
I go. I'm bouncing, Nathan. I'm needed. I'll speak to you later anyway. BB, much love, brother. See you later.
See you later, Martin. Thanks for joining us.
You've been very quiet. You've been very quiet.
I've just been listening and just taking it all in. It's been such a boring, uneventful night. Nothing has happened at all.
Take it easy, Martin. Peace and love, as you would say.
Yeah, I would say there was some eventfulness. There was some eventfulness.
Been joined by Beyond.
So what do you have to say, Martin?
Debate Flat Earth and more. Sorry, Brenda. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. We've been joined by
Validation Boy. What?
I just wanted to say hello to Debate Flat Earth, and if there's any more to that screen name, I'm not sure. But hello.
I'm in the wrong account.
So.
Sorry, I've frightened off all the flat earthers.
Oh, it's Jem. Who cares? How you doing, Jem?
Well, validation boy chickened out, ran away because he couldn't answer questions. Adam appears to have taken a. Well, maybe he's taken a piss. We don't know.
No need. In the interest of balance.
This is Gem Panda, somebody that I respect a great deal.
Thank you very much.
Likewise,
I thought you were doing a great job there, Brenda.
Was I? Because I felt pretty harried.
No, you were doing good.
In the interest of balance, I'm going to say that Validation Boy did extremely well. Thank you very much for being here. It was great having you on, along with Adam, A4. He's just about managed to hold it together. Thank you, Adam. I'm going to run this show for about another 30 minutes. So I'm going to do a quick plug and then I'll let you get back to it. So
that's good because I want to get back to binging on Stranger Things.
Excellent stuff. So if you are new to this channel, which is my backup channel, Nathan Oakley, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you are new to me in general, click on the link in the info box to my main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, for video logs and interviews on Flat Earth. As I say, this show will run for about another 30 minutes. If you want to actually join the debate, there is a third link in the info box. Click on that link and simply tick the box and say you want to join and you will be a part of the debate. There are only a couple of rules. Please do not swear. If I'm asking you to not swear, it's chances are because you are getting aggressive, and that's my way of saying please do not. If I ask you more than a couple of times, I'll just kick you. So yes, try to keep the aggression levels low. There are generally no time restraints here, so you just let other people talk. You probably won't get sweary. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, if you do end up getting kicked, please do not return until the next show. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next show, but the chances are if you've got kicked, you're not welcome back on this particular feed. So that's pretty much it from me. I'm going to pass over to the rest of our fine guests who've kept it pretty cordial for the most part. I think you'll all agree, hopefully.
Is the swearing thing to maintain a certain rating for your show?
Not really. I mean,
like adult rating or something.
No, not at all.
I'm back. Was that directed to me? Swearing?
No. The swearing thing.
You are an Aussie, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so I should be let off.
I'm not going to stop you from swearing if it's just part of your patter, Adam. You know, I haven't interjected when, for dramatic effect, Brenda said the F word. I'm not going to stop her or interject for that. But generally, if people are getting aggressive, they normally start swearing. And that's why it's there. But as a blanket rule, I'd rather just say no swearing.
Everybody thinks I'm aggressive just by talking. They take me as aggressive. Like, I can just speak normally and then everybody's like, you're getting aggressive. No, that's just me.
Could be your mic. Your mic does get suddenly very loud.
Oh, don't start with that, Nathan. Don't start turning me down.
No, I've turned you right up. You're too quiet 99% of the time, but then there's just maybe you're just getting close or something, and it suddenly gets really, really loud.
Am I real close now? So
yeah, you're at the
Brenda,
maximum
back to
actually.
that, what we were saying. I went downstairs, so I didn't hear what you said. Was it the explanation for you were asking me why they can't go to the moon? And I said, well, they can't get through the Van Allen belt. And you said, why? And I said, well, the radiation will kill them. Isn't that enough explanation?
That would be an explanation for why we couldn't get to the moon.
But is it a good enough explanation for yourself?
It's not. It doesn't happen to actually be true, but it would be a good explanation if it were true.
Why isn't it true? Can you explain that to me?
Because we're protected from the radiation in the Van Allen belts by the metal skin of the spacecraft, and also they choose a path through the least radioactive and thinnest part of the Van Allen belts in order to minimize their exposure to radiation.
So there's thin parts of the Van Allen belt and thick parts.
Yes.
Right. It's like the Earth is sitting in the middle of a big ring donut, and so you know it is a belt,
like an inverse toroid.
It is a belt. Yeah, exactly,
toroid.
exactly that.
Or a toroid,
and you can
not inverse, toroid.
so you can fly over it. But what I would say is, you know, I think, Adam, that the argument is quite illogical, really, because if you're saying that you have knowledge that there are belts of radiation in space, then, you know, where does that knowledge come from? Well, you know, it comes
NASA.
from, yeah, and it comes from those spacecraft that traveled out that far and measured it, which,
well, not
you know,
just
I
NASA,
think
there's
that
other
you
people
don't believe
people
that
that
they
have said this.
exist. So you can't really
I don't believe that who
posit
exists.
any Van Allen radiation belts because you don't really have any means of knowing whether there is one.
Well, yeah,
but
my
if
report
you're
to
going
that,
to accept the data that there is one,
no,
then you have to accept it in its entirety. And what that data, hang on, I'm nearly there. And what that data shows is that not all of that radiation is dangerous. You know, there's radiation on Earth. Bananas are radioactive. They contain potassium, you know, that decays. You know, so not all radiation kills you. You know, a piece of paper can stop radiation.
You know, I'm going to lose my train of thought if you keep on going.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so you're telling me that I have to accept all the information from NASA if I'm going to accept the information about the Van Allen belts, because they're the ones
unless you've got a
me
specific reason to
but
reject part of it.
Listen, I am just going on the point of saying, well, this is their explanation on why they can't get to the moon, all right, is they say they can't get through the Van Allen belts because it's too dangerous.
But they don't say that.
My explanation is there's a firmament of some type, all right, and they can't get through the firmament. And their explanation is just, all right, well, let's call it radiation, all right? So we have an explanation, a rational explanation for anybody that's inquisitive enough to check it. We'll say it's radiation, that's, you know, we'll give an explanation, and there is another alternative to that it's a firmament, that it's a dome, that it's something else.
Yeah, they don't actually say that we can't get to the moon because of the radiation. That's just something that
there are
NASA
employees, whether they be astronauts or not, that have stated that they cannot get to the moon at this time.
Well, that's kind of I mean, you know, that's true. But what they're saying is that, you know, we don't have a spacecraft capable of taking humans to the moon at the moment. But that doesn't mean that we never did. The ones that we did have were single-use. Hang on, nearly there. The ones we did have were single-use spacecraft. They were used, and once they were used, that was it. They were no good.
No, yeah, and then they said the technology was lost. They didn't say that it was just single-use aircrafts, right? That's not the only explanation they give to why they can't get back to the moon. They say that the technology was lost.
Well, you moved on to another cherry pick.
Technology. Like if I lose my phone today, doesn't mean I lose the technology that goes behind the phone. Like people still know how to build phones. They still know what it takes to create a phone. So how are they able to say that they've lost the technology to get to the moon? I understand that they might have made single mission rockets, but how can you lose the technology for that single mission rocket? There's a difference between having a single mission rocket that's a one-use rocket. Yeah, all right, I understand that, but how can you lose the technology behind that?
So why don't you let him answer?
Something like that.
Let him answer.
Well, I think in that particular, if I may say, cherry-picked quote, I think what the guy is talking about is all the infrastructure that goes along with a lunar mission, and that would be everything from all of the testing equipment, all of the mission control, all of the administration staff that have to go with it, the
telemetry data,
personnel people. There's a whole massive infrastructure, and I think that's what he's referring to. That all of that is lost. It no longer exists. It's been scrapped because it's completely obsolete.
They had a garage. NASA had a garage sale.
You're telling me that it's obsolete, yet they haven't been back because they lost the technology.
Well, no, they haven't been back because there's no political party or any politicians willing to fund another trip to the moon, and there's no reason for us to go back.
Right. Nixon defunded the Apollo program, and he actually, because there were actually going to be 20 Apollo missions, but there were only 17 in the end. And 3, they used up one of the Saturn V's on the Apollo Soyuz mission, and then the other 2 ended up in museums. So he defunded it, and the reason he defunded it was because he believed what he wanted to do was he wanted to make space travel like an everyday thing, something that almost anyone could do. That was his vision, and that's why they, instead of pursuing lunar missions, they then went and did Skylab, and they did the shuttle. And the idea of the shuttle was that it would shuttle astronauts to and from a space station. The only thing is that they never actually got the funding for the space station, and ultimately
they never got the funding, but yet they get like something like how much a year? It's like
right.
$1 million a day.
But I'm nearly at the end of this story. But ultimately, what the US had to do was in order to have a space station, was have it funded internationally by 11 nations, and that's where the space station ISS comes from. But the design for the ISS was originally
wait. I've got to interject.
It was called Space Station Freedom. It's actually designed by Buzz Aldrin, as it happens, and that was going to be the US space station, but there was never the money for it, and that's why you haven't been back to the moon.
Right, you're going on a rant.
There was never the
let me interject.
political will, as Brenda said.
Let me interject. You said that how many nations?
I think it's 11 with the IS.
11 nations. Say that statement again, so then I can interject at that point, because you made me lose my train of thought by going on a rant.
Well, I was actually trying to make a point.
No, you were the one interrupting.
Your point's irrelevant. Your point's irrelevant when you won't let me interject at a point, because you're like going on with there's so many times.
Well, I think it's a good idea to have a full explanation.
Jim Panda, your point is irrelevant because you won't let him interrupt you.
No, it's interject. It's not interrupt. It's interject. There's a difference, all right?
Okay, please go ahead and interject.
You said earlier, Brenda. You said earlier that these space agencies weren't intertwined, and then Gem Panda just contradicted you by saying that there's how many nations and they're intertwined.
Well, it depends specifically what we're referring to. I mean, were you suggesting, I don't know, some sort of collusion between Russia and the USA?
Now we're going to change that, are we?
Yeah, I said I was pretty clear. I was talking about organizational, and that the administrator of NASA doesn't tell the administrator of the EU what to do.
Right, and actually, the ISS is governed by a very complex set of legal agreements that govern everything that goes on there. Because
so legal agreements that say that they have to follow a certain narrative.
Come on, mate. Let me make a full point. Just a paragraph.
Your points go on for like 5 minutes.
Well, I'll try and be concise. If you let me get more than a sentence or two out, because what goes on in the ISS
Hello,
is.
guys. You could subscribe to my.
That wasn't me, Jim. That wasn't me. I was trying to let you go on.
So,
He's just going to spam.
Yeah.
I'm going to strike on my channel.
So what happens on the ISS is commercially sensitive because they're developing new technologies. And so it's covered by some very serious and complex copyright law that governs
Non-disclosure
what
acts
goes on
as
there.
well.
So although there's cooperation, there's there's a lot of legal agreements to keep people cooperating.
And in these legal agreements, there'd be non-disclosure agreements, right? Non-disclosures.
There would be, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they're all intertwined.
Well, you can't go up there and see some new technology being developed and then come back down to Earth and necessarily tell all your friends about it. That would.
Or you can't go underwater in an underwater ISS remake, all right, and then do this fakery. This is also can also be how it's occurring, all right. Is you can't join as an astronaut and then go into a swimming pool and pretend that you're in the ISS or wherever in a zero G plane. You can't go up there and do all this fakery and acting and then come out and tell people about it because you are under a non-disclosure act. The same thing that you're saying that you can't go up and then talk about the technology can be said about, all right, they can't talk about the fakery.
Well, I mean, if there was fakery, you would expect that to be the case. But I mean, I haven't seen any legal agreements for that. But if you have, then please present
them. The non-disclosure acts. They can't talk. How can you talk about the non-disclosure act itself?
Oh, because you can go online and you can see them, and you can see the sorts of things that they cover, and they're about safeguarding commercially sensitive information. That's what they address. That you can go and read them. But obviously, if you think
commercially sensitive these days for them,
obviously, if you think this fakery going on, especially
what technology could they be inventing in space that's so that would need to be kept from the public?
Well, it isn't about keeping it from the public. It's about keeping it from competitors. It's
competitors.
So
they've monopolized the market. In other words, they're monopolizing the market.
Well, everything that's commercially available is commercially sensitive, ultimately, isn't it? Whatever. If you're a plumber, you don't necessarily want to tell your fellow, your other plumber mates who you're doing work for or how much you're charging. That would be commercially sensitive information. Every business has it. And some of what goes on the ISS is business. It's paid for commercially. Sorry, Brad.
Yeah, and the most sensitive, the most obvious connection would be communications, and that's big. That's big business, communications and techniques. And so it's entirely possible that, for instance, a European Union company develops a communications technology that they use on the ISS. And they want that kept secret because, they're gonna apply it. If it works on the ISS, then they're gonna apply it in their commercial area. And
right.
they don't want that. I mean, I'm just making this up out of my head. I mean, I have no idea if any of this applies, but that would be the reason.
Right, that's exactly it. It's just about safeguarding, anything that's developed commercially. But obviously, like I say, if you're proposing that it's all being faked, then of course the people involved would expect them to be governed by some sort of non-disclosure agreement. Obviously, you don't need me to come up with any to just posit that. That would be part and parcel of being a actor, agent, astronaut thing on the ISS, wouldn't it? I mean,
Jeremy, please turn off your camera. We got a black screen. Sorry.
Oh God, again. Sorry. God, I'm going to unplug that stupid thing. Hang on.
With that, that's a good segue. Hi, Charles. Thanks for joining us. Much obliged.
Hello. I didn't want to interrupt with this really fascinating conversation, and A4, I do appreciate your criticisms and your arguments, but focus on stuff that's verifiable. Like, for example, we can't verify whether there's a non-disclosure agreement signed by which which astronauts and which missions, whatever. That's we can only speculate on that stuff. What we can do here from the ground, we can actually photograph it. So like you can actually get a lot of evidence that the ISS exists just from ground observations.
Yeah, you can see it. If it does a transit in front of the sun too, you can get a pretty good image of it.
How do we know that's just not some type of a model that's held up by a weather balloon?
Yeah, that's a good point, A4.
A transparent weather balloon that is holding something that would be the shape of the ISS. How do we know that that's not the case?
Yeah, no, that's a hypothesis that can be explored.
So you're always going to say that it's just speculation. What I'm bringing
No.
is speculation.
Can I?
That's what the curiosity didn't
let's
kill
hear
the
him,
cat
Adam.
in this case.
Let's hear what he's got to
Curiosity
say.
has caused a movement that's called the flat Earth movement.
Let's hear his
answer.
Curiosity didn't kill the cat. Curiosity has caused the flat Earth movement, where people now think that the Earth might not be the shape that they're taught it is.
Can I validate your idea? Let's say it is a model hung up by a weather balloon. So we would have different parameters. We'd have speed, we'd have altitude, and we'd have features, the size of it, the shape of it. And so you yourself can go out and you can capture, like Brenda said, transit of the sun, a transit of the moon, or if it's at sunrise or sunset, you can actually catch it yourself.
Why wouldn't they make a light model in the exact replica of what the ISS?
Sure.
Would
Okay.
be?
So it's a replica. Okay. Let's go with that hypothesis.
That it fit the measurements.
Yeah. Then you get another friend, and you literally have him be 100 miles away from you on the other side of the ISS track, and then have him make observations. For example, you could both measure the angle of elevation of the ISS as it passes, over a town between you, and you could literally triangulate, and you'll determine that it is not a weather balloon or not anything hung up by a weather balloon. It is in fact, several hundred miles up. I mean, I'm saying several hundred miles. I'm being vague, but this is what you could do in your own backyard with a protractor.
Speculation. No, what you're saying is speculation. What you are is saying speculation. You're saying that if I went out there and done some type of measurement and got my friends 100 kilometers away or miles or whatever you want, whatever distance away from me, that's speculation that I'm going to get the results that you're saying I'll get. You're speculating that I'll get the results that you say I'll get.
Prove me wrong.
Why do I have to prove you wrong? You're the one that's saying it. The burden of proof falls on the person that talks the drivel. All right. So if you want to bring something to the table and say that it's proof, well, then the burden of proof is on you, my friend, to prove that happens. It's on you. No, it's on you to go out with one of your friends and 100, whatever it is, whatever distance away that you've just said. You have to do that. Not me. Not me. You.
A4. So Jaron has already done a similar thing. He and his wife Missa were 10 miles away from each other, and they actually were viewing the ISS, and they were noticing that it was lining up against the background stars. Like they were watching the Big Dipper, and the ISS was going in front of, like the third star on the handle of the Big Dipper. And they were on the phone with each other, and they were noticing that this thing was lining up with the background stars. And meanwhile, there was a plane a few minutes later, a plane was flying over, and the plane was not lining up with the background stars. And so they concluded that this thing was much higher.
You're talking about Jeranism, right?
Jeranism? Yeah, but
is that the wait?
The point I'm trying to make, Adam, or A4.
No. You're not going to go past that.
The point that I'm trying to make is that you could collect this data yourself. There's nothing stopping you from collecting this data.
Are you talking about Jeranism?
Well, if you don't like that story, I'm happy to throw that story out the window. You can collect this data yourself.
Throw that story out the window because Jeranism isn't a trustworthy source.
Okay, then let's say he's not trustworthy. Then go ahead and do it yourself.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why he isn't a trustworthy source.
No, but see, now we're changing the subject. The subject isn't about him. It was just an anecdote. I don't have anything vested in this anecdote.
It's completely irrelevant considering that person is employed by TFR radio, all right? And anybody that's associated to a media network follows a narrative, follows a script. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to
I will withdraw that piece of evidence. I've got no problem with that. We don't have to talk about that any
The burden
further.
of
We
proof's
can
still
just
on you then.
withdraw the
burden of
evidence.
proof is still on you
The
then. The
point
burden of
is that
proof's
you
still
can
on
do
you.
this yourself.
No, I
So-
don't need to. You do. You're the one that's saying that.
I just wanted to hop in and
You
let you
do.
guys know that another YouTuber by the time, and he lives in the Bay Area. I live in the Los Angeles area. We did precisely what we're talking about with the ISS. Is we found a pass that moved that was pretty much halfway between him and me across the state. And we went out there at precisely the same time when at the, we looked at the precise time that it was going to pass halfway between him and I directly, and we just started. We both got Theodolite apps on our phones, and we just started snapping pictures, measuring the angle that the ISS was above the horizon, and those pictures are time stamped with our GPS coordinates along with the time, and the fact that we were able to do this, we were able to calculate, even if it's on a flat Earth or around Earth, the altitude, which was over 200 miles in altitude. We actually got within a couple of miles of the actual stated altitude by doing that experiment. And by knowing how high it is above the Earth and how far it was between the two of us by triangulating its position and also measuring, how quickly it's passing across the sky. Right, how many arc minutes per second it's passing through the sky. We're also able to get a ballpark of its speed, which is clearly a lot higher and faster than a weather balloon. Right. I mean, people can watch the ISS go from one state to another in minutes, right? So there's no way that it's a balloon doing that. And people from multiple states can see it at the same time. People 1,000 miles apart can see the same pass at the precise same moment. So there's no way this is a low altitude balloon lofting along in the atmosphere. That's how I wanted to add to that, is that, there have been people that have done it, and the numbers do add up.
I'd need to see your evidence and proofs myself. You so-called done this, so I'd need to see it myself to verify and then believe what you're saying. Otherwise, it's all just conjecture and speculation. I don't need to do it myself.
Yes, you
I
do.
don't need to.
Yes, you
You're
do.
the one that's saying that this occurs.
No.
You're the one that's saying that it occurs, and you're the one that's saying that you have the proof. Well, not you, but you're the other guy saying that he has the proof.
Right, while they are debating away, I am going to do a quick thank you to all of the people who have joined this live feed. Epic 4 hours that it was. And one last time, I will say, if you are new to this channel, Nathan Space Oakley, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. And also, if you're new to Nathan Oakley in general, click on the link in the info box to a video that will take you to Nathan Oakley channel, and subscribe to my main channel there for Flat Earth interviews and alike. I'm going to cut back now to the main show, and I'll round out with things there in a couple of minutes' time.
I'm going to post in the side chat. Here's my picture from that observation.
Thanks,
by the times I can't post because he did it in front of his house. So it gives the GPS coordinates in front of his house. So you'd have to ask him if he's okay with sharing that. And you didn't give me permission to share that. We did share that with some of the other people that he trusts, but it was shot in front of his house, and it basically doxes him. So he didn't feel comfortable just putting that on the internet. But
Okay, I understand. So at this point in time, we cannot verify your claims.
Well, you're more than welcome to do it yourself. I'm just telling you that other people have done it that aren't NASA, they aren't the government, they're not the boogeyman.
Flat
You know what I
Earthers
mean?
have to have everybody else do their work for them.
That's not the work that I need to do. I'm not the one that's saying this occurs.
That's
I'm
all
not the
you
one
ever.
Right, but
that's saying
you
this
don't-
occurs.
You
do
don't
not even
accept it.
understand the rationality of proof and the burden of proof. If you make an outstanding claim, the burden of proof falls on you. I don't need
You're
to
the
do
one
anything.
making the claim.
Oh, you're the one making the claim, saying that if you do this and you are this far away from each other, and you're the one making the claim.
No,
I'm saying provide the evidence.
the evidence is provided. You have to go out there and test it for yourself.
Oh wow, like dinosaurs, right?
You can download the dates and times that the ISS will do a transit in your location.
I'm
You can
really
do that
sorry to
yourself.
interrupt you, Brenda. what I'm going to do in the next couple of minutes is actually
Okay.
round out this show and thank you all for being here and joining us and all that sort of stuff. So if you've got points or things that you need to plug, I'll give you a couple of minutes, and then, as I say, I'm going to thank the audience, thank you all, and end this stream. So
I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Nathan. This was interesting and one of the better hangouts I've been in for some time.
Well, I'm not a
Thank
flat
you for
earther, just to
hosting.
make it known to everybody. I'm not a flat earther. I'm a realist. I don't know the shape. So I only come on this show to help Nathan build what he's trying to build right now, which is a debate show. So I tried to take, like I usually do, the side of flat earth to argue for it. And I hope that in the future, some actual flat earthers that are more knowledgeable than myself in this topic would be willing to come on and actually debate against these people that make
Sure.
irrational claims, and then try to push the burden of proof onto somebody when they're making the outstanding claims. But thank you, Nathan, for letting me come on your show, and it was entertaining.
And if I could just jump in with the claims, it is a good point about burden of proof. However, in the case of the ISS, we have 10 million pieces of evidence that the ISS exists, whether it's footage or sightings or actual hardware. And then we have some claims, some counterclaims that it doesn't exist. And so I would think the burden of proof would be on the folks who don't actually have the evidence. The evidence is clear that it exists. If you want to claim it doesn't exist, then burden of proof is on yours. Thank you very much, Nathan. I really appreciate this new invigorated debate channel. Signing off.
that's an absolute pleasure. And I will say a final thank you to Jem and Epistemology, who didn't even get an introduction. So I'm really sorry that you didn't get a proper introduction, but thank you very much also for being here. I hope to see everybody who is in the live chat on future events. And for the final time, I'll plug this, my backup channel, Nathan Oakley. If you have not subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.